What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Terrorists keep terrorizing.
Well, the good people, including some doctors, at CANNMED 2018 were talking about medical marijuana and its benefits. At least some of them were. We give you a report. And our news segment, Cannabis Saves the World. We talk about Weed the People, the new documentary, and hemp in New York. FDA comments are still going till October 31st, as 66% of Americans support legalization, including Dana Rohrabacher and John Boehner, who is all in on cannabis, thanks to a Navy SEAL's PTSD. Oh, and a $100 billion industry full of cannabis cash. Legal Canadian cannabis. Take off, you hosers.
Smoke marijuana.
Broadcasting on Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should spark up.
Spark up. I brought you a lighter. It's right over there.
Thanks. Wait, let me tilt. Where is it?
Right there.
There it is. Wow,
Yeah.
what a week.
Oh my
What's
goodness.
up, Reefer Revolutionaries?
You guys.
Which is so obviously the name of the show.
Yes, so obviously. Why didn't anybody tell us?
Why didn't anybody say something?
You guys should have mentioned it. We found out at this convention that the name of our show is hard to remember and hard to
we knew that before. We knew that before the convention.
Yeah, but Reefer Revolution is what it is, right?
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
What's up, Reefer
Hey, you
Revolutionaries?
guys.
I'm Dave Conan. That's Coach Chela.
Hey.
And this is the Reefer Revolution Show. We're working on that. We're calling it Reefer Revolution live on Sundays, 4:20 Pacific, here on YouTube. Subscribe, get notifications, and on numerous other platforms. Actually, the grid is filling in because it's going out great over all the platforms, including Facebook, Periscope, DLive, Twitch, Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network, and of course here on YouTube, shifting over to Cannabis Saves the World at DC 420 LA in the interim. But we're going to start bringing you a bunch of new shows on the new channel, semi-new channel, including our flagship show, Reefer Revolution.
Yes.
Live on 420 Pacific every Sunday. Most Sundays, unless we're on the road, where you always do a check-in.
We will.
And part of what we happened this week at the CANNMED was that we made a lot of great contacts.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Amazing. Not only some good doctors, some funky doctors, but some good doctors doing amazing work in the field, but also just people, moms.
Amazing.
Momcologists and
family caregivers turned advocates, just like us.
Exactly.
You know, so it was really great to be with a bunch of like-minded people. There were also some, of course, status quo people, like the Israeli Minister of Health was there, the guy who gives everybody the stamp of approval for cannabis, and he gave a little talk.
Right, and
the establishment.
He's part of the John Boehner's investment group. There was another conference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There was another conference going on this week.
He does not use cannabis, by the way.
Yeah, he doesn't use. Yeah, Dore does not use cannabis. The guy who's on the board of John Boehner's new stock investment racket.
And the reason he doesn't use cannabis is he's a doctor.
That's right. He almost laughed it off, right?
Yeah, I'm a doctor. He's this big, tall, really, really, really overweight guy who's a doctor.
Yeah.
He should take more of his own advice, maybe. Anyway, but we digress.
Well, indeed, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Welcome, everybody. The YouTube is starting to fill up. 420 Fred, first in, along with Jocelyn Russell and Obi-Wan Cannabinoid. They were pretty close right there. Happy Luck's in there. Hello. And Happy Luck's, are you new viewer? CVAZ, you're relatively new. You came on last week.
CVAZ before.
Happy guy in there.
Just Justin.
By technical glitch, do you mean Jeff Sessions? Yes. That's a good one. That's a good one. Having a few network issues, so if we have some buffering, let us know. I see a little buffering on my OBS, but that's just me. I think
it is
going
you.
out okay, yeah. But I think the sound is going out okay. If we do delay, allow us to reboot the OBS. We'll restart the stream as we continue. We'll stop any videos we're looking at. We were going to look at that cannabis job fair by a student, but we're not going to look at that one. We'll put that in the afterburn.
Yes.
In the afterburn of Reefer Revolution, which will include your phone calls. I don't know if that will be today, but at some point it's going to include your phone calls.
We're going to work on it.
But all kinds of exciting things happening here on Cannabis Saves the World at DC 420 LA.
Reefer Revolution.
Reefer Revolution live on Sundays, and many, many more things to come. We've got interviews lined up with a lot of these folks we met, doctors in the field.
Oh, hi, Blaster Master. I didn't mean to ignore you.
Oh, hello. Since 11 minutes before the start. Well, Blaster Master, hello.
That's longer than when I was here.
That is certainly true. Chela was lit. She says, is the camera on? Because I'm changing my clothes.
Yeah, that's when I was changing.
In our cabin, we didn't have the pre-show camera on, so
thank goodness.
I was trying to cut down on the strain on my little
whole other show.
Gaming computer. We're gonna need to get sponsored for this show. We're going to upgrade our system so we can go out to more folks.
Yeah.
And put a little more flash into our program here.
We're just fine.
We're very excited. If you can't tell, it's not only the Blue Dream tincture.
Not just the Blue Dream. Not just the Blue Dream.
And the Granddaddy Purple joints.
It's not just that.
And the other medication that we are recreating with.
CANNMED was an incredible conference.
It was pretty cool.
It was really exciting. We were obviously the only creatives. There
was no media there except for the only video I literally, we didn't see any media, that's for sure. There was no television media either. We were there 2 days. You were there 3 days.
Yes, I was there 3 days.
So you didn't see any vans out front, right?
Nobody was reporting.
There was some guerrilla student work being done.
Yeah.
But
love guerrilla students.
They were like, oh, you got to pay $1,300 to get a permit to do any shooting. But the media could have come in and shoot it. They have money. But they did not cover it. It was not in any of the news, despite the fact that it was a first of its kind job fair.
Yeah, the EDD, in conjunction with CANNMED, did the first cannabis job fair ever in the state of California. They found it to be wildly successful. So they're hoping to do it all over the state. So that's cool.
And we'll play his little video
after the show.
After the show.
Yeah.
Because we have so much to cover.
Yes, let's get into it, shall we?
Because we are going to be into our new Cannabis Saves the World segment, which is going to become a whole show unto itself.
That's right.
Including interviews with doctors and people on the ground in the community doing the research and the practice of cannabis medicine.
Also, other people that are doing cannabis normalization work in community. So if you're teaching a edibles cooking class, let us know about it. We'd love to talk to you. If you're teaching a group of seniors in your community about cannabis, let us know about it. We'd love to talk to you. We met a couple of the influencers on the panel. One of them, big NFL guy, Eben Britton, who, I mean, he's a big NFL guy, but his claim to fame in my book is that he's the son of my favorite yoga teacher. So that was really great to meet Abby's son.
Well, and he said he wants to come on the show.
He does. Yep. He says he wants to come on the show, which is cool. We'd be
if you're watching,
super happy to have him.
If you're watching, say hi in the chat.
Yeah, you're welcome to come.
If anybody is joining in from CANNMED.
Anybody new from CANNMED watching?
Because we passed out a lot of cards.
We did, like 500 cards.
And Chela was right up on the microphone in every one of the panels that we were at,
Especially the Alzheimer's one, as you're about to hear.
where it was enough time to ask questions.
Yeah, they didn't
and
do that.
We're going to actually that's what we're going to do that first, right? We're going to take a look at that video, which there it is. Okay, we're going to take a look at we went, as you know from last week. We were super excited about going to this event for two reasons.
Yes.
The Alzheimer's panel and its connection to cannabis, and the keynote speech by Dr. Raphael Mechalo. What we got ended up being quite good with regards to
It was amazing.
Dr. Mechalo, despite the fact that we were initially disappointed that he was not physically there.
Yeah.
But we got over that pretty quick,
Yeah.
considering his age and the work that he's done and the travel from where he is doing his work.
It's a big schlep from Israel.
And it was early in Israel when he did say
yeah.
hello.
He looked like he was right out of bed.
He was right out of bed. He said hello live. It was funny. Everybody had a good chuckle. So because he literally said, "Welcome everybody. Have a good morning." And bye. And then we went. That was the keynote speech. That may not be so great. But then there was a pre-recorded keynote on something new for the conference. Much of which we already knew. Some of the research, although there are new clinical trials that have been done with autism and a couple other areas. Most of the stuff that if you do any research in cannabis medicine, any Googling of it, and do any decent research, you find out what Israel's been looking at. So not so much of it was that new, but some of it was. But the Alzheimer's panel, which was why we went for the most part, was not what we expected.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be better.
And apparently they had a little trouble actually putting it together.
I don't know that I'd say
found?
that.
No?
No, they let's play it.
Okay.
Let's play. We have a clip from it.
Yeah.
You guys, when we have access to all of these panels, we'll cut down the important bits and, show you the parts that are relevant. But this that we're going to show you now,
I had it written down.
Sorry?
Where'd my notebook go?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so, sorry.
Go ahead. Keep talking. Let me, I'm going to try to find out where
I'm all distracted now.
Lost my place. But we are high, so go ahead.
Not quite, actually. But anyway, so Dave, why don't you just play it?
Yeah,
play
except
it.
that I'm not sure if I'm in the right spot, but I'll go for it.
Okay.
That's why I'm looking for my notebook.
Do you want to play something else?
No.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you know what? I will show the people some other things that we got while we were there. While you're looking for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So while we were at the conference, I saw a bunch of things in the exhibition hall, including a whole lot of their exhibitors were some of the big guys that we all know about, like Tikkun Olam. Although I really liked the free stuff that they handed out. It was a really cool thing on terpenes. Cannabis is a well, we're going to hear a little bit more about them later, but they're a wonderful company that got into the business because their daughter has a rare form of cancer. So that's, they're part of a documentary called Weed the People. So we're going to see a little bit about that. But places like Israel and Canada are doing research with plants the way I think most of us believe should be done.
It certainly is not America.
Yeah, no. The American model is more grow something, like the poor plant man on this panel said, you can't make money with plants in America. Boo. And it was sad. It was really, really sad. But the two, like I was saying, Canada and Israel are growing the plants and doing the work the way I think it really should be done.
Well, there's a serious cognitive dissonance in America about how the drug approval process goes and how the drugs are brought to market in our capitalist big pharma system.
Right.
And the way we did it back in the day for a couple thousand years, using plants is not very effective to them. It's not very
profitable. Effective meaning profitable. Super effective, not profitable.
Yeah, exactly. So but there are countries that actually sort of look outside the box because they have had to, due to international, scheduling and U.S. scheduling, and
or being such a teeny tiny little country,
Right. So they're actually doing good research, and there were 3 doctors on this panel, as you'll see.
Oh yeah, on the Alzheimer's
listed.
panel.
A Dr. David Schubert, PhD, Dr. Gary.
He's the plant guy on the left.
He's the plant guy. He is at the Salk Institute.
Yeah.
And they have done work on cannabis and other things. Gary Small, where was he?
UCLA.
UCLA. That was Dr. Chen's teacher, right?
Probably.
And
Dr. Cox.
And Jamie Cox, MD from Canada.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jeffrey Chen, young guy, literally just graduated.
No, he's 29.
29. But he was when we started our Alzheimer's journey, he was still in school.
He was undergrad.
So he moderated this panel because he's the head of the UCLA therapeutic potential of cannabis. Or that's the panel. UCLA Cannabis Research Initiative.
Yes.
Is what he heads up.
Yes.
And it's about an hour long panel, about 45-minute long panel. And my comment afterwards was Dr. Chen should have taken a rock and could have hit 3 people in the audience and gotten better information about Alzheimer's and cannabis than those guys on the panel.
Well, you got to understand that they are doctors.
Oh yeah.
You have to feel bad for them. They're doctors.
Now, Dr. Cox is a little more reasonable. But let's go ahead. This is about a 5-minute clip. We're going to get our head together. I found my notebook, so I'm good. It was up here. But I got it. We're all squared away. So let me play this clip. We'll take a breath because we rushed into this, into sitting down. Welcome, everybody. This is Reefer Revolution live on Sundays at 4:20. Subscribe, get notifications for when we do go live. And lots of great things going to be happening here on Cannabis Saves the World at DC 420 LA. So let's check out our little, this is some audio from the Alzheimer's panel, the very end of it actually. And it's the question and answer period. 2 questions, which literally were more informative than the entire panel. And
one of them is my question.
And one of them is Chela. So let's take a listen.
That are currently available. There's no ability to microtitrate. If you got a capsule that's 300 milligrams, guess what you're going to get? 300 milligrams. So it's the education gap that we have within the physician community needs to be narrowed, but we have an opportunity as clinicians to do it correctly.
And with our remaining time, I'd like to open it up for questions.
Thank you. I'd like to shed a little light on this from a physician standpoint. In Northern California, where we're using residential care facilities for the elderly as a place for cannabis use in dementia care. There are more than one regularly using cannabis on a 2-3 times daily basis. We usually start at about 10 milligrams of THC and 10 milligrams of CBD per dose. We'll go down sometimes, but usually that's a starting dose. It'll knock elderly demented patients down for a couple days, and then they get up and behave much differently with a marked reduction in their agitated behaviors. We can use the Cohen-Mansfield Agitation Index as a scale to watch these changes, and they're doing quite well. Families are reporting some improvement in cognition. Overall, the patients are happier, the families are happier, and the staff is much happier. So this is going on at this time. These are not IRB approved studies. These are people in institutions whose families want cannabis used, and under California law, we're able to do this for them. So I would hope to put some light on this as far as what we are already doing. Some of the doses have to go up very high in order to cover the needs for these agitated patients. Up to 30 milligrams of THC and CBD per dose in order to control some of these very, very agitated behaviors. It's not only helping the agitated behaviors, It's helping the pain, the insomnia, and many other aspects of these elderly patients.
So could I just clarify that? So you give them a dose of 10 milligrams THC plus 10 milligrams CBD one time?
Once per dose, correct. Per
And then
dose.
and what's the next time? And then you have a sustained effect after that. When do you redose them?
Usually they get a dose first thing in the morning, again sundowning at about 3 p.m.
So it's a daily dose you use?
This is not a divided dose. This is a per dose. So we may go, it's 2 or 3 times daily in this patient population.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the elements of that, just to add on that, because of the duration that it takes for the cannabinoids to get on board when you take it orally, and the bioavailability is significantly impaired as well, as we move forward with different delivery mechanisms, we talk about the mucosal oral absorption, but there's other routes as well, be it nasal sprays, for the more quicker onset of action. It's going to give us an ability to titrate that aggressive behavior in a slightly different way as well.
That is true, and we are able to use oral doses as a PRN order as well in this patient population for agitation and insomnia.
Thank you. And just in the interest of time, I know there's about 6 people standing right now. Please, I just remind us, we'll keep the questions to questions and keep them brief because we only have 10 minutes and there's 6 questions we have to get through.
Despite the need to bring you more information.
Thank you guys for everything that you're doing. Are you familiar with Dr. Chow at the University of Florida's work on Hyalolax? He's using THC, curcumin, and melatonin as a treatment for Alzheimer's. And I agree with Dr. Jeff. My mom with Alzheimer's uses cannabis as well as another friend. Same dose, roughly 11 CBD, 7 THC 3 times a day, and helps remarkably.
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, there are some animal rodent studies in transgenic mice on combination of CBD and THC, and also with I think THC and CBD alone, and there's some variation in the results, and so I won't say anything specific, but in general there seems to be an improvement. It tends to agree with what we've found in simpler systems actually. And there is a pretty high-end paper in, I believe, Nature Medicine a year or so ago showing that THC, when put into directly into the brain, has a positive effect on memory in older animals. So there's mounting scientific evidence that these compounds actually have an effect.
Also, there's a great documentary called Prescribed Grass. Some people might be familiar with it, about this population in Israel.
Yeah, but I think what you got to distinguish is, are these things working? Do you need the psychoactive component or not? And my feeling is, the way we looked at it, you really don't for the things that we look at. And so I think that emphasis should be mainly on some other compounds than CBD, plus maybe other compounds in cannabis.
Do more research.
Mic drop. Do more research. You may not need the THC. No, you need it.
You need the THC.
And Henry Sherman, welcome. When David Chela mentioned the Alzheimer's, I would have thought the medicine would be micro doses, but 10 to 30 milligrams seems more like dab doses. If that's great, it's been effective. I think because he's treating agitation. He's treating a lot of the symptoms.
Yeah.
That are part of that.
Yeah.
So the micro dose that we talk about and have been talked about, and the question that you asked about Hyalolax, that is actually a micro dose.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Right.
And that is for, based on their research of the microdoses being effective in helping to clear out beta amyloid buildup. Now, which is, what did they call that? There's two types of way they attack the Alzheimer's. It's the
sweeping away,
yeah. Try to stop the disease, and then the other way is deal with the symptoms, right? So what Dr. Jeff is doing is obviously, I'm sure his knowledge of how it helps in other areas, but that the way he's describing it is obviously for agitation, and the higher dosage is needed, right? So go ahead. What are your thoughts on what they talked about there? We actually got with that your question pulled out more information from him.
Yeah.
About the THC study,
right?
Because that's what Dr. Chen asked him.
Yeah, tried to get him to talk about it. Yeah,
and he wouldn't talk about it.
It's almost like he was afraid to talk up there.
So
it's really weird. The Canadian.
So talk about what your feelings were about that panel, and
So it was a really full room, and at the same time there was a really popular documentary being screened, We the People. So I thought that was interesting that they moved the screening of that documentary to the same time as the Alzheimer's panel, because those are two big draws. So the Alzheimer's panel was still totally packed, and there were a lot of people in that room that really wanted to know more about Alzheimer's and cannabis. And I feel that the information given to us by the panel was really very pedestrian and bland, and like they've never read about it before, like they've
just read about it,
like they've never done any research, like they didn't know that in Israel they've been using cannabis in senior homes for 10 years. Yeah, how did they not know that?
That went right over their head.
These are doctors. How do they not know these things?
From Israel, some of them here.
A lot of them from Israel.
There was people you could talk to from Israel.
Well, this is the thing. Another one of the presenters, a presenter from Tikkun Olam, the Israeli premier research outfit that does all the work on cannabis.
Growing their custom bud for medicine.
Listen, he did a little part of his presentation touched on the fact that they're doing a research study with Alzheimer's and cannabis, and it's halfway done. And it's showing incredible promise.
Wow.
So.
And that's a Tikkun Olam study, funded study.
In Israel.
In Israel, yeah, of course.
So that should be coming out probably within a year.
You know what that means?
That they're developing a strain for it.
Well, what exactly? And what that really means is that in America, all the doctors and the politicians will say, we'll need more research.
Right. Just like I said.
And need to talk to the doctors.
Yeah.
So
circular, crazy town. Circular. But the great news is that in 31 states, it is medically legal. So in 31 states, people who are in relationship with dementia have an opportunity to try something that other people are trying if they so desire. Not everybody's going to want to. Not everybody's going to think, the doctors didn't say whatever. So that's cool, and that's fine, but I, as a family caregiver, wanted every single thing. And we tried everything before actually we went to cannabis, even us, because the doctors said, no cannabis, cannabis is bad for your memory.
Yeah, so we stopped cannabis.
Which is insane. But about 2 or so years in, my mom had fallen 5 times in 3 weeks and wouldn't get out of bed and wasn't really eating, and it was 3 weeks had gone by, and I was in her room smoking a joint, and she said, I want a hit of that, and I called her doctor, her new doctor, her UCLA doctor, and the doctor said, give her whatever she wants. She hasn't gotten out of bed in 3 weeks. So I did, and the next thing I know, we were in the living room watching TV. So I started using cannabis oil with her within a couple days. And it didn't reverse the symptoms in the same way like the coconut oil did, because coconut oil reversed symptoms,
right,
like by 2 years. We regained skills that she had lost 2 years before. We regained them when we started the coconut oil. The cannabis oil allowed her to me it looked like she dropped into her body and was able to interact and be with us, and color, and she got joy out of doing things rather than constantly being agitated and restless and needing something to do, occupy herself. But when she started to do it, it was frustrating. And so the cannabis allowed her to slow down.
Puts you in the now. Puts her in the now.
And it put her really in the now. And she knew she didn't remember stuff, and she knew she was saying some crazy shit. Like, she would hear herself say something, and then she'd start laughing about it because she would hear how crazy it sounded. And And she would laugh about it. She wouldn't be mad or angry or sad or upset or depressed. And we would have a laugh about it together. So cannabis really helped us on our journey. That can be tough.
Well,
It's
I think the obvious results, the anecdotal obvious results of his not so official trial, Dr. Jeff.
Yeah.
Hegenrather. Dr. Jeff
Hergenrather, yes. Dr. Jeff Hergenrather.
Dr. Jeff, we apologize, Dr. Jeff and Star, if you're watching.
Sorry.
We're
going to put it up on the computer so we can read it all the time.
Dr. Jeffrey Hergenrather actually implementing cannabis therapy in 3 long-term care facilities in Washington State. California, sorry. Northern California. We've been talking about our West Coast journey, our road trip. But he's in Northern California, and and we're hoping actually
outside
to
of Santa Rosa.
See him sooner rather than later on our road trip.
Yeah.
So we will be doing hopefully some interviewing with him, either live, checking in, and we'll record some segments. But we met a lot of really the panelists some of them were great. Dr. Bonnie was great. Some of the information in that first day.
But some of the attendees. Dr. Hortensia.
Yeah.
She was amazing. She's doing some incredible work in Mexico. Anyway, that for another show.
Yeah, well, that's it. Cannabis Saves the World. It's going to be another show here on the channel.
Yeah.
This is Reefer Revolution, where we look at the news of what's going on around the world, really, now, but mostly the U.S. and Canada. But we take a look at the politics of pot, marijuana in the mainstream media. Same general theme of the show, the engagement with all our great viewers. Alex Ware in the house today, dabbing up 1,000 milligrams as a microdose. Good job, Alex. And listen, when you recreate,
everybody has their dose.
Everybody has their dose. Everybody's different. And when you recreate, you medicate.
That's right.
So we all do it for something, whether it's elevation, creativity.
Yeah.
Method Man is in the news, national news this week, talking about cannabis and how it helped him and his music, and that all music benefits from it. So that was part of their problem, right? That was part of their issue with it, is it made people creative and not want to be a part of the BS. I think that's their biggest problem with it. As was illuminated this week, we talked about some future projects. Really what it comes down to is cannabis was a peace-loving plant. They weren't all about that.
Right.
So you want to get into our little Cannabis Saves the World segment for this week?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's take a look at a couple of stories that we found, that Chela found, worthy to say that this plant is really what we say. We say it on the show every week, that cannabis is going to save America. It's going to save the world. It's from its less psychoactive or non-psychoactive cousin hemp, all the way to 1,000 milligram dabs and having a great Sunday afternoon watching Reefer Revolution. So whatever is part of your cannabis saving your world, we're going to look at it on this new show. And this is a couple of stories we found. Of course, we said that we missed the screening of Weed the People.
Yeah, we did. We missed the screening at CANNMED, but we're going to see it.
That's right. We're going to see it
in
this
LA.
week. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's opening. Is it opening this week?
Yeah, I believe it is. Maybe next.
And
it's opening soon.
It's opening soon. And Ricki Lake, of course, is the producer.
Yeah, she's the executive producer, and we have a little story on it.
This we did pick up a story from Good Morning America, and so I'm going to play a little clip of Miss Lake on that story, and then we will watch the trailer to Weed the People, which looks like a phenomenal film, and another thumbs up for getting real stories of cannabis medicine and its effectiveness in the media. So let's see how Ricki Lake is handling this story.
We are beyond excited.
I'm gonna get beyond that part of the clip.
Yes, well beyond.
To where we need to be for Miss Lake's part about cannabis. Here we go. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe, get notifications, share with your folks, whatever platform you're on. Let them know about the show. we do this every week, despite, I mean, in addition to all the new shows that are coming on board. So here we go. Ricky Lake on Good Morning America.
About that. And we're going to talk about another one of your passion projects. It's hit theaters on Friday. You're executive producer of this new documentary. It's called Weed the People.
Weed with a D.
Weed with a D, the people. Which follows how families are affected by cancer. Yeah. And all of their options, including medical marijuana. And what is it like listening to these people who are telling their stories to you?
It's been an unbelievable journey. So we started the film in 2012. We follow 5 families with pediatric cancer, so all children suffering with cancer diagnoses. And they go on this journey to look at integrative medicine, including cannabis. And what we found through the 5.5 years is remarkable. Remarkable what cannabis was able to do, both with the symptoms of chemotherapy and also shrinking tumors.
With these kids.
Yeah, and it's really, like, my focus of my career of late has been this documentary work where it's more issues and things that kind of I have a curiosity about and something that matters to me. And this is, you know, the cannabis plant is so misunderstood. And we all need to know what the powers of this plant is and why it was taken away from us and why it's a Schedule I drug. And really when it's the plight of these families, you know, you're just like, you're in the story and you can't help but see yourself and feel for these children. And I'm so proud of it. It's my husband who passed away last year, Christian Evans. This was his passion project. This is his legacy. And so it's even more meaningful for me to present it to the world.
And we want to take a look at a clip of Weed the People.
That's enough of them. I'm actually going to play the trailer because
we like
it's
the
far
trailer.
better than just the clip. Plus, it includes a couple of folks we met at CANNMED.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that. But thanks, Ricky, for doing what you're doing.
Is this a medicine? Cannabis has been a medicine for 3,000 years. It only hasn't been a medicine in this country for 70 years.
There's more tumor right here, and then there's a bigger mass here.
Are you ready? Are you ready to kick cancer in the butt?
She's perfect, health-wise. She's had one cold in 9 months, and that's pathetic.
Except for that damn cancer.
Except for that huge mass in her brain. That's the only thing. Yeah.
We're gonna fight till the end, and we're not gonna stop until this cancer is gone.
And this is her cannabis oil regimen that we have right now. We give her the size of about 1/2 grain of rice 2 times a day with baby food.
That's it.
And then you undo the clamp there. And it flows down, just using gravity. You okay? Any parent of any kid with cancer, if they know about cannabis oil and they research it properly, I think the vast majority of people would choose to do it.
Don't forget that what's to come hasn't come yet.
As a cancer doctor, every day I see patients who have nausea, vomiting from their chemotherapy, pain, depression, loss of appetite, insomnia. And I could write them prescriptions for 5 or 6 different medicines, all of which are, number one, probably expensive, could interact with each other, or could interact with the chemotherapy drugs that they're taking. Or I could recommend that they try one medicine, cannabis, which can take care of all of those concerns.
Every single thing I do related to cannabis, whether it's me taking a puff, me talking to a patient, me writing a recommendation, me researching, me being around it, is all federally illegal, period.
It's tough when they live in a place where they do have to break the law, and they are considered a felon if they do that. If it said no swimming, and my child's drowning, I'm in that water. I don't care what that sign says.
He's still not 100% back to normal yet, but he's making progress there. Chico wants to start a campaign. He wants kids with cancer to have access to cannabis. We all feel that we can't just be, we're all right now, so we're going to go back to our old lives and forget about everybody else and not do something. We start work now to do what we need to do, so I'm really excited.
There's some cell death. The tumor is actually dying in certain areas. There's no new growth.
I'm just thrilled. This is the most amazing news we could have ever gotten.
It's a good feeling. I can actually see the future. I can see walking little Sophie down the aisle and you know, taking her to first dance recital and all those things that you want to do.
A Gallup poll.
Hang on, Kennedy.
Not just yet.
So
We're going to take a moment. Savor that. Pretty great. And this is why we talk about it.
this is Sophie's family.
It is.
So that looks like a pretty cool movie.
Oh, it's an incredible movie.
Yeah.
So we met Sophie's dad and Sophie's aunt, and they started this company called CANNMED. And they have, I think they're working with Dr. Bonnie in Orange County. There's going to be another story, I think, in People Magazine, and there'll probably be a bunch of media about it this week because it's coming out, and I would think that they have publicists and stuff. Aw, you guys, you're the best.
I can't talk.
It's all right. I got you, baby. So this was our experience at this medical conference, that the people who are in it because their loved ones got relief from it have a whole other level of passion and commitment than those who are just coming to it for financial gain because it's an emerging business or whatnot. Everyone with with skin in the game really have that passion. Like CANNMED. Those folks are amazing. There's a fellow who made an app called Relief app. And that is a diary to track your progress and what you're doing with cannabis and which strains do what for you and all that good stuff. There they are now.
Guys.
So yeah, Relief. His mom was sick and she needed cannabis and needed a way to track it, and there was no way to track it, nothing easy, and so he made an app.
Amazing app.
And then another lady with skin in the game, Realm of Caring. That is an incredible database. I have a photo, I think, with her, but there's a picture of her. She was one of the panel presenters, and they have compiled a database at realmofcaring.org where you can contribute your stories about what you're doing, and it compiles data for clinicians to use. So
it's sort of an open source. I mean, it's
research,
self-research platform, right?
Yeah. So there are lots of people doing lots of great work, moving in the right direction. And that's not to say that 1,000 milligram dabs aren't awesome, because they are. But there's lots and lots and lots of good shit on the horizon. However, for people who are not comfortable unless it's full blown to the letter of the law and the AMA and the FDA and all the initials have given their stamp of approval on it, it may be a while before those people receive the benefit of cannabis medicine. But people who are pioneers, people who are desperate, people who want to try anything because they are in pain, because they have Alzheimer's disease or any dementia, of which there are over 100 diseases that cause dementia symptoms. So any one of those diseases should try Realm of Caring. See, Vaz, we'll put it up in the thing.
Let's see.
Realmofcaring.org. there's a lot going on. and we're going to shine a big, big, bright light on it with Cannabis Saves the World. And of course, we want to hear your local stories about what's going on in your local community, like Holy Cannabis Oil. I'd love to know more from you, what you're doing. And we can Zoom, we can talk just like this, we can use pictures, you know, we don't have to do like a big full-blown like documentary on everybody. We can just do it the way it needs to be done, so we can get this information out there to the people who want it. Because there are people who maybe aren't like maybe some of us in the chat and like Dave and I, who, well, shit, I have a headache, I'm going to try some weed instead of ibuprofen, because that's me. I would much rather use a plant than a pill.
Oh my God, we totally forgot about that.
Oh
the,
yeah,
the
there's
pill?
new aspirin coming on the market. It's made from CBD,
And
some other thing,
a cannabinoid-like property,
but a very small amount.
A very small amount, yeah.
But using them together, it was 5 milligrams CBD plus this PEA.
PEA, right.
PEA. So it's CBD, PEA, and coconut something.
What it was.
Starch.
What it was.
Very small.
Oh,
You know,
we'll
pill.
find. I'll find the picture. But
yeah.
CVAS, it's actually the ROC.US. Realm of Caring.
Yeah, Realm of Caring. Yeah, there it is. ROC.
It's on the screen right now.
There
but
it is.
The website is
Sorry.
www.theroc.us.
Oh, how weird. Why did I think it was .org?
I don't know. Do you have their
Sorry.
card? Maybe it's.
I did have her
Maybe
card.
they
I
have
don't know.
another one, but
Yeah,
that's when
anyway.
I searched for it. That's what.
Yeah.
They have a Facebook.
Yeah.
Also, they're on Facebook, but their database, I believe, is through that main the ROC.US.
Yeah.
But that is pretty cool. It's people on the ground that are doing this.
Yeah.
That are actually putting it to doctors that are willing to use it in their
Yeah.
practice, whether it be on children or adults, breaking federal law.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, and they're licensed, and they have all kinds of stuff to lose.
Crossing state lines in some cases.
Oh my gosh, that story. We have a story later. Anyway, we'll talk about it then.
So Cannabis Saves the World are gonna highlight these kind of stories, these people on the ground that are creating these tools for people outside of the traditional system, because the traditional system, one of the things that the Canadian Dr. Cox said was that even all research stays in the lab. 5% of all research gets commercialized out of the lab. So, you want more research? It's going to be decades and decades and decades until stuff actually makes it through the process. So, he said the horse was out of the barn.
Yeah, they did say that.
And that people on the ground it's the upshot of the panel at the end, basically right before questions. Dr. Chen said, "We're sort of doing it backwards. We have all of these people using it, and they're getting results, and then we know what it's doing, and then we can go back and research it to see how it's doing it." Essentially,
I think he said
he didn't
that.
say that.
I think he said that because his grandma has Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
Maybe he knows something about it. I don't know.
And what we have is, Dr. Cox says, is what we have here is a plant medicine that is available to a very large segment of the population that are using it within the quasi, as John Boehner said this week, legality in the United States and elsewhere, that are creating a database now of all of this evidence of what's going on, and an app where you can contribute how each strain is affecting you. And,
Strain print in Canada?
Relief.
Oh, Relief, yeah.
Right? What does Relief do?
Relief does similar, but it's not quite as... so Realm of Caring is more quantified for doctors.
We will be firing up the air razor at some point.
Yes.
I'll need it for Kennedy.
It'll be quantified as for research, and Relief seems like more of a anecdotal and personal diary app. So, like, if you're in a legal state and blah, blah, blah. Listen, if you guys go to the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, you can get referrals for real cannabis doctors and practitioners in your area.
That's pretty darn cool, too.
Really incredible takeaway.
And that was nothing available at the conference.
It's just, Dr. Jeff is The Society of Cannabis Clinicians.
It was not presented at the conference. It was Dr.
Should've
Jeff
been.
being there. It should have been. That's the panel next year for
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. Is Dr. Jeff?
Yeah.
You.
And the Dr. Jeff Chen.
Dr. Jeff Chen, because it'll be another year of his research.
Right. Want to
And
know what they're doing.
You can moderate the panel.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. And then we'll get one more, maybe Dr. Cox get back, maybe get him back.
Canada. Dr. Cox, that'd be great.
That would be a good panel.
That would be a good panel.
On the future of Alzheimer's and cannabis medicine. So we're going to put that out into the atmosphere.
We're shooting up them rockets.
Shooting that rocket out there.
Yeah.
And met some. There was a influencers panel that we also sort of ended up wanting to go to. We hope to be maybe on that panel next year too. That's a goal. Is to take our show, Reefer Revolution, and us educating folks.
Cannabis saves the world.
Getting Cannabis Save the World, getting this information out, the real information of medicine that's being used on the ground, because the guys up top that want their clinical trials are not going to give it to us. They're not going to give us the medicine that we need, that people need, want, and desire. So we're going to have to do it ourselves with folks like Holy Cannabis Oil and the Grandmaster level growers and Master Blaster, Master, and all the other growers that watch this show and bring medicine and Daily Dope and
One Love Organics,
One Love Organics and Haley's Hope, and even Charlotte's Web.
These are the people doing the work
from Colorado. You know and a lot of those folks were on the ground at this conference. So I'm really glad we went.
Yeah.
And and I'm excited about what it's inspired.
Really excited
for the channel and the show.
Yeah.
So that's great. Excellent job.
Yay.
The CANNMED 2018 Cannabis Saves the World.
Yes.
Stay tuned for more saving here on Reefer Revolution and other things. So let's shall we move into Canada before we get into the national U.S. news?
Sure.
Let's do Canada because we've already been talking about it a little bit in the chat.
Yeah, Dr. Cox was from Canada. Horses out of the barn.
Well, no. Somebody in the chat drove up to Canada.
Oh, bummer.
And I saw that go by.
Oh, I missed it.
And drop a note in if remind me who it was again. That drove up to Canada and the place was out of weed. Closed and out of weed. Angie Byers. Hey, babe. Thanks, man. Compliments on our hair today.
Oh, yeah?
Cheryl. Yes, we're
sweet.
Apparently rocking the hair.
Love. It's the good new hair stuff. I love that lay right.
I haven't uncrunched my gel. That's where I'm at.
Alex Ware, weed will make America great again. That's how he's going to win 2020, unfortunately.
Oh, that's
but
whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. That's what that says. I thought that I saw milk in there somewhere. Why did I see milk?
I don't know, milk. Tokaway. I like the Tokaway. All right, so the big Tokaway.
The big Tokaway from CANNMED 2018 is that they need us on their panels next year.
Yes, we need to be part of this situation.
And the American Medical Association is not interested.
Yeah.
In cannabis therapy.
No.
Period.
So listen, if you're in a legal state especially, talk amongst your friends, talk it up, tell everybody you know, write your legislators, send postcards. Postcards are awesome because then the letter carriers and people who see that can see what's going on it. And postcards are great.
Yeah, and we're going to get Holy Cannabis Oil on the show. We're probably going to come see you in person, Holy Cannabis Oil.
Yeah, on one of our trips to Sacramento. We're going to start going to Sacramento every couple months.
Right? Yeah. So we're going to be heading up that area soon, relatively soon. So CANNMED 2018, watch out. I will of course put into a playlist when they start publishing all of the official panels, that one and all the rest that do it, because they will be putting those out. They videotaped everything. So
professionally.
All of those panels. And I'm hoping, I don't know if the continuing education ones will be put out. Probably not.
Probably not. But I'm going to get a lot of continuing education from the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. So I'll be able to report on some of my new knowledge. So I'm super excited about that too.
Very good. Awesome. So all in all, I think it ended up being a good experience.
Yeah, completely worth it.
Made some great contacts.
Yeah.
And really inspired some expansion of the show.
Totally.
And the channel. So glad you guys can all be part of the ride.
Yeah.
You're all part of the core beginnings of
right.
Reefer Revolution and Cannabis Saves the World as we expand the show and the knowledge throughout the world. And if you are I thought I saw a German name go through.
Did we?
Tell us where you're watching.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know where you're watching. If you're new to the channel, a lot of the folks in there, we sort of get where you remember where you are. Alex, we know you're in LA because you've done dabs in our house. We're friends with you.
You are our dabster.
You are our dab master, Alex Ware. So as he talks about it very knowledgeably, and we will do that again. We'll have to do it on before hopefully next 420.
Yeah, maybe around the holidays if you're in town.
Yeah, maybe a holiday dab party.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We'll have a little dab bar here.
December. Yeah. December dab party.
December dab party.
All right, let's move on to the next
Done.
to the stories.
All right, so we're going to move into Canada.
5
Let
hour
me find
show.
my Canadian block, and we're going to play we'll start with a quick video from our friends over at Cannabis Culture at Pot TV. Cannabis Culture, you've been to Cannabis Culture.
Yes, I have been to Cannabis Culture.
I don't think I made it in there.
You didn't make it in there because we were so enamored with the New Amsterdam Cafe next door.
Right, it's right next door, right?
Right next door. We were so enamored, and we were only there for like 2 days. So, and we had other things we had to do besides just sit in places and get high. I know, that's crazy to say.
Because our whole family was there.
Yeah, because we had family with us.
Yeah, so otherwise we probably would have spent most of our time in those two places.
Yeah.
Plus, we would have seen some of it.
We didn't know Cannabis Culture then. We were.
That's right.
We were naive. What can I tell you?
It was before the show.
It was before a lot.
Yeah. But we love those guys. They do 420 lifestyle. They do the Cannabis Culture
They do
news,
it right there,
expert
dude.
joints.
So you walk up the steps, and then the steps are this. I have pictures. I'll show you one day.
One day.
You walk up the steps, and it's history of cannabis in pictures. And you go in, and you there's the place where you can buy snacks and stuff. And then there's the lounge, and it's these big windows. But behind where the snack bar is the studio where they shoot the show.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to do that here.
Yeah.
I want to do that here.
Well, I know who you can contact if you'd like to do that here.
Yeah, I know. We've got a couple.
We got a name.
We got a name.
Well, we were at the thing.
I didn't know. I know it's very culture. It's very, but it's very old school culture, if you will.
But you can do that at the place where we heard that they're starting to do the thing.
Right. That's true.
So you can get that itch scratched.
That's right.
And I don't have to do it.
Okay.
Because I'm not interested.
I'm not
I
saying,
love watching other people.
You don't have to be on all the shows.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, speaking of hard names to remember, RVU83145.
Yes.
Welcome,
Hello.
TK421. Why aren't you at your post? TK421.
Let's play something from Canada, shall we?
Let's play some stuff from Canada. Let's see
this thing that we were just talking about.
Let's see what all the Canadian cannabis chaos is all about, eh?
Yeah, from the
You
real
hosers.
people who know.
This is the real scoop.
Yeah, the scoops.
So here we go. We'll start with that, and then we'll take we'll roll through a couple of stories.
Mainstreamers.
Mainstream stories while I get a drink of water.
Yeah.
And we catch up on some chat and start rolling into Reefer Revolution. It's legal in Canada, but they ran out of weed.
And is it really?
I've been growing cannabis for 25 years plus, and you know how hard it is to grow 50 lights? You know the challenges it is, or to grow a 20 light show with heat, humidity, mildews, everything. It's easy to grow 4 or 5 plants. It's easy to grow a 4 or 8 light room. That's why I do it. It's easy. But I've grown 40 light rooms, 50 light rooms, 20 light rooms. They're hard. They're hard to control.
Medical.
You got to know exactly what you're doing. You got to know when to air and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't understand how you can spend millions of dollars on growing facilities, and these places are sophisticated fine art facilities. They're not growing fucking good weed. Should be growing quad weed. This should be killer. My buddies grow small shows, and they can grow 10 times better weed than anything I see here.
We have to get good growers licensed.
This is
in the
ridiculous.
system.
This is an insult to Canada and to the people that have to buy medicine. Because this is not medicine. I'm looking at it, I can see it, and I can't even look at it. No,
that's not Canada
weed. This is not Canada. This is bullshit.
Not Canadian cannabis. This is not what our weed is.
This is
it's not BC,
I'm
bud.
Moldy, powdery mildew weed from Broken Coast. That just made me sick.
You think tourists probably came to Canada to be like, yeah, I can go where there's legal weed, and bought some of this shit and smoked it, and don't think this is what our weed is like? No.
I know.
Yeah,
sorry,
America. Sorry, guys. Come back and buy some stuff off the black market. We promise you like it.
Not really. The breed's not really like this.
Yeah, exactly. They're moldy. They came and got moldy,
crappy weed,
crappy, underweighed. They were saying that every one they bought was underweight. There are stories about customer service is terrible.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play a couple of the mainstream stories.
Here's some mainstreamers.
That was Cannabis. That's Cannabis Culture News.
We love their
great
show.
We love their show. They put out a lot of great content over on Pod TV on YouTube, and a lot of great shows. That, of course, is what is that? I forgot her name. Harley Marley.
420.
Harley Marley 420. And Johnny B and the crew over there at Cannabis Culture, not happy at all, with the government weed.
Hate their government weed.
But apparently the lines were around the block.
Still yet.
12 hours from the day the doors opened.
You mean all day long?
All day long, from the time they opened to the time they closed, till they ran out of weed. And it's so funny who they're pointing the fingers at.
Yeah.
They're basically blaming these guys, the black market. Okay?
Yeah.
We hate that term.
We hate that term. But these guys, Cannabis Culture, has been running a protest outside of the big Vancouver Art Museum for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they blaze up cannabis in front of this museum every day, all day, for 20 years in protest of the cannabis laws in Canada. And they are still there today, right now, protesting outside the Vancouver Art Museum. And it is Cannabis Culture that kind of facilitates all that to happen. And these guys are part of that group. Right. And so they know a lot about their civil liberties, and they have a lawsuit moving forward in the courts in Canada about the silly laws that they're making.
Which is why they think the only reason their 4 stores in BC are still open, essentially because of the lawsuit, and they feel that the lawsuit essentially, I believe I've got it sort of in a nutshell, is essentially saying that you can't shut us down because people can't get their medicine,
right?
And that the way the law is being implemented is ridiculous because they're making these shops shut down while only the government stores are working until April. Or something like that. There's a timeline. So Cannabis Culture has a lawsuit going through their courts. We might have news about one of our lawsuits happening in the U.S. So they're still open in BC. So go see them if you're in BC.
Cannabis Culture is open for business.
They got plenty of weed. And
good weed.
Good weed.
Not shitty weed.
Not shitty government weed.
Local market.
Trudeau,
we're going to let them know they should start calling it local market, not black market.
Moldy Trudeau weed.
Not black market, It's local market.
So let's take a look at a couple of the mainstream stories that came out of Canada, talking about the week they made cannabis legal in Canada. Liberté? Question mark?
Oh, Oscar just ran all up.
The boys are awakened.
Oscar just ran on top of him.
His, we don't have pet cam today. So
it's all right. Sorry, guys.
Already the protesters are out. Let's see what's going on.
I've been growing cannabis for 25.
How do you look at yourself in the mirror?
It didn't take long for this rally criticizing legalization to descend into a shouting match.
It was our duty to speak up against scapegoating then.
A group of anti-cannabis activists converged on the Vancouver Art Gallery today. They raised a swath of concerns ranging from secondhand smoke to the impacts of marijuana on mental health.
I challenge the validity of medical marijuana.
The rally was led by former U.S. drug policy advisor Dr. Kevin Sabet, who claims that Canada is now the world's biggest drug dealer.
And apparently has nothing better to do in the United States, destroying our cannabis attempts to legalize. He's going to head up north and mess with them. To continue.
Government has not gotten the word out on driving. Marijuana at least doubles the risk of car crashes. We've not gotten the word out about the developing brain. 18 is way too young.
There was no counter-protest planned, but the picket signs asserting that marijuana kills brain cells were enough to draw the scorn of cannabis smokers who were visiting this pop-up dispensary just steps away from the rally.
This is entirely incorrect. It's crazy. This is disgusting. And more of this over and over again with people who haven't bothered to do 20 honest hours of research.
Ironically, as tensions mounted, there was some common ground. Both sides had concerns about big cannabis corporations taking over the industry, but for entirely different reasons.
We don't want to see this industry grow to such a size and become like big tobacco, where they targeted those most vulnerable in our society, kids and minorities and vulnerable neighborhoods.
Local cannabis activist Darren Rutten launched his own protest today. He says a government-sponsored monopoly is squeezing out producers who pioneered BC's cannabis industry.
Everything really that the culture has been about up to this point is still illegal, so they're not legalizing anything that we do really except for puffing on a government-bought joint.
Just one day into legalization, and there's no end to debates like these. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
So funny that 2 days after they legalize it, it's closed when it was open for a year and a half, 2 years before. So it's a sad day for green culture.
Customers showing up to the 5 dispensaries in Toronto turned away moments after Toronto police in collaboration with the city's bylaw officers raided the shops. In Ontario, the law states that cannabis stores aren't allowed to operate until after April 1st, and officials have promised to crack down on anyone breaking this rule with some hefty fines for both landlords and store owners.
Now, a lot of people may not understand the rules, so we've given them notice in writing. It's through registered mail, and some are getting hand-delivered today and yesterday as well, so they clearly understand the jeopardy that they're putting their properties in, and we'll be following up with actions after that. For those that are knowingly selling, same thing.
Here are the 5 cannabis shops that were raided yesterday. They include stores in the downtown core, east and north of the city. Police say a total of 8 people were arrested and charged under the Provincial Cannabis Act and released.
Toronto Police would like to advise the public that we are still enforcing the laws, and anybody who decides to open one of these illegal dispensaries do so at their own risk.
The City of Toronto has confirmed to City News that at least 2 shops have reopened, one at Lawrence Avenue East and a second in City Place. Cafe on Fort York Boulevard confirmed to City News that they are once again operating. A spokesperson saying in a statement that there are fundamental flaws with the Cannabis Act and the legislation will, quote, necessarily be tested in the courts. Part of that statement continues to read, there is a solution for a municipality to embrace businesses whom have integrated with their communities successfully and tap into their knowledge and expertise. There's a method under the Municipal Act that can set forth a public health agenda, which the Toronto Board of Public Health has expressed a willingness to entertain to define classes of other cannabis products under similar guidelines as we do for most products in the city. To do nothing is a much, much greater harm.
It's a product that people require, and where there's a demand, you will find suppliers.
Even with legalization?
Even with legalization, my understanding is the government online system has not been able to keep up.
This Toronto lawyer who represents cannabis shops that have been raided in the city says the government should give amnesty to dispensaries that have been open for quite some time until April 2019 to come into compliance instead of conducting raids.
It's a waste of the court's time. It's a waste of lawyers' time. It's a waste of everyone's time.
Do you think this type of enforcement is effective?
Not particularly. I mean, they closed down 5 dispensaries. 5 more will open.
You don't think these dispensaries will comply?
It's not a matter of whether I think these dispensaries will comply. Some of the dispensaries that are closed down are not going to be able to reopen because, of course, their products have been seized, their infrastructure has been destroyed, and their money has been seized. So it's a huge hit.
And to give you an idea of the demand for cannabis, the Ontario Cannabis Store says it received approximately 100,000 orders from customers within the first 24 hours. The OCS says those customers began receiving their packages as of Thursday.
Well, a follow now to a story we first brought you last night. As we've been reporting, at least one of Canada's major pot producers is struggling to fill medical marijuana prescriptions, claiming there's a bottleneck due to the legalization of recreational weed at some of the testing labs. And this is creating big delays on getting medicine to market. Tonight, we're learning more on the issue with the CEO of CanTrust telling me in their case, testing wait times have tripled. We started this investigation after getting a call to our newsroom. John, who's been battling a rare form of incurable cancer, couldn't get his prescription filled by his supplier, CanTrust.
My product is basically for anxiety and pain and sleep, right? They tell me that they don't have no product at all.
And why is this the first time they've been out of product in 2 years?
Yeah.
This morning, I got a call from CanTrust CEO. Is it true that wait times for inspections or products to be approved went from 10 days to 30 days?
We have our own internal processes, but we also send samples to external labs for testing before we release product to our customers, both on the rec side and on the medical side. And those labs are being stressed and strained. And yeah, those times that you mentioned roughly are accurate. So
because that's a huge difference. 20 days is a huge difference.
We were relying on turnaround times in the 10-day range, and we are seeing turnaround times in the 30-day range.
According to the Government of Canada's website, across the country there are about 40 labs that are licensed to test marijuana. 20 are located right here in Ontario, and that's a big increase since 2016 when there was only 17 labs operating Canada-wide. Today we got in touch with the owner of a licensed testing facility just outside of Toronto. Are you able to keep up with the 10-day standards?
Just barely.
Just barely. Is this a federal failure, or did they not predict that, you know, with dozens and dozens of new licensed producers coming on board, that this would happen?
Well, I would say that that this is the first time in the world that we're doing something like this here in Canada. So I think we all have some learning to do, both the LPs, the regulators, and everybody in the ecosystem.
Now, we did reach out to Health Canada about concerns of too much cannabis and not enough testing facilities, but did not receive a response by our deadline.
Let's play with.
So, not such a good rollout, eh?
No.
Of promises made, promises kept.
Sorta.
The second country, G7 country, to legalize cannabis. Uruguay, of course, being number one. Technically
Yes.
what?
Technically legalized, but
Technically legalized.
I guess it's not super liberté. It's not tomatoes.
Oh no, it's
not tomatoes.
It's far from tomatoes. As a matter of fact,
it's like
it's actually gotten more dangerous.
Yeah.
We always say it, more illegal now that it's legal.
Yes.
The laws that they've passed for this, just like under Prop 64, has some impact. And if you're planning on visiting or immigrating to Canada in the near future, don't get caught driving on weed, eh?
No.
Because bad things can happen to you.
Yeah.
So the laws that they are been created around this legalization up in Canada are far from legal, far from liberté,
Far from tomatoes.
far from tomatoes.
Yeah.
Indeed. And of course, as I'm adjusting your camera, don't move. Okay.
Yes, holy cannabis oil. The establishment is completely clueless. They're destroying what was working, trying to implement something they're scared to death about. It's true. It is true.
Meanwhile, just on a side note.
Oh yeah, this was really interesting.
Is this the story? Well, this is from August. Oh, this is about the study, I think. But just this came up this week, just as a side note. It looks like the FDA has put psilocybin on the breakthrough therapy list. and can be used for depression, asymptomatic, or rather, what's it called? Drug-resistant depression. And now we've talked about this actually for a little bit on the show.
We have.
About psilocybin, the trials, and in real life, microdosing, but trials on with psilocybin and depression, and apparently it's true.
Yeah.
The FDA is looks like putting psilocybin a Schedule 1
pretty sure
substance, isn't it? Pretty sure psilocybin is a Schedule 1 substance on breakthrough. It'd be interesting. What was it? On a breakthrough therapy list due to some clinical trials. So a lot of things happening. A lot of interesting things happening. I think the politicians are going to get on board in the U.S. before the medical association, the medical establishment, is going to get on board because of the money, because of the tax revenue, the money, and it's very convenient that it cures people with cancer and other PTSD and other things. As you will see in the national news, which we are going to move into now.
All right.
Briefly. A little house cleaning. Do not adjust your dials, folks. Nothing will change. Stay subscribed to the channel. You may see some name shifting going on, but you are in the right place. Cannabis saves the world. If that comes up weird in your feed, it's us. We've just changed the name because we're evolving.
What do you guys think? You guys think it's cool?
What do you think of the name?
Cannabis saves the world.
And Reefer Revolution.
Yeah, Reefer Revolution is the name of this show, where we talk about the news that you guys have all come to see. Reefer Revolution. I say it every time.
Yeah,
as opposed to DC 420 LA.
That's what I call you all.
What do you think?
Thoughts? Now, because DC 420, we have come to know.
We've come to
that name is very cryptic.
Yeah. People don't really understand what DC 420 LA is.
Nobody does.
At least that's what it seems.
I don't even understand it anymore. How it started and where it is now. So, we don't want to lose anybody.
No.
But we want to get more people.
Yeah.
So we're
not
looking.
Not that we don't love you. We
love you.
Oh
no, you guys are the kind. And Bonnie, we have an Alabama story.
Yeah,
it's not
I told
good,
her.
But we have one.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not
it's illuminating.
Yeah.
We are expanding. We're evolving. We want to bring more people in. Let people know more about what it is we do, and what we are doing. And it's a little jarring to see a couple of reefer revolutionaries that look like us. Because we are mainstreaming and normalizing cannabis use for recreation and medication. But when you recreate, you do medicate. It is a medicinal plant. So we're getting benefits on so many levels in so many areas. And the medical establishment is trying to tear it apart piece by piece, literally. Meanwhile, we like to spark up and talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and numerous other things here on Reefer Revolution live Sundays at 4:20 Pacific.
Yay!
Subscribe, get notifications to Cannabis Saves the World, where you can catch this show every Sunday. And stay tuned for the new shows that are going to be coming on with great interviews, segments. Maybe we'll do cooking segments. We could do a cooking segment here. We could do an overhead cam. Sure. But
whatever you. Let's see what bubbles up.
It'll be
what
digital.
Evolves.
It'll be digital. It'll be digital. It'll be on the road. We'll take it on the road. It'll be great. We're going to go visit growers. We're going to visit doctors. We're going to go visit family caregivers, and also interview them here. We're going to take call-ins, your call-ins, so we don't just have to have you on chat. You can come on the show.
Yeah.
But as we get into the national news,
all right, spark it up. Spark it up. Perfect.
Load another bowl, do another dabs, light another joint. It's time to get into the national news with a little Kennedy.
Oh, Kennedy.
A little Kennedy. She's a little bipolar on the whole cannabis issue.
She loves it.
Maybe she should.
I think she's probably more liberté-like.
Kennedy has done cannabis, and I'll bet she still does.
Kennedy's a cannabis company.
Here we go. Let's see what she had to say this week. They're big. In case you didn't know, we don't watch the news anymore.
No.
The only news I look at, other than some things that flow through my Twitter feed that I just But essentially this week, apparently they're trying to connect the caravan. Apparently there's this happy-go-lucky caravan coming up from the folks down in Latin America. But I guess the conservatives are not too happy about it. So they're tying immigration to, of course, cannabis. Because I guess anyway, let's see. So if you see those undertones in these couple of stories, that's a reefer
undertone.
That's the reefer madness undertone. Yes.
Yeah, that we are
busting. Let's dig a little deeper, shall we? Let's get a little more blunt and a little more illuminated on these stories, shall we?
A Gallup poll, it's out today, shows that a record high, 2/3 of Americans support legalizing cannabis. That includes 75% of Democrats and an actual majority of Republicans, 53%. So should America start to rethink prohibition of all drugs as a way to help solve our border mess? Joining me now, Reason.com managing editor Peter Suderman. I call him Suderman Computerman. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So how much of the drug war is a factor in this current migrant caravan, particularly the majority of whom come from Honduras?
Drug cartels are empowered by prohibition and by the existence of black markets. You want to put money in the hands of criminals, make it so that only criminals can sell and process drugs. That is exactly what happened during Prohibition in the United States with alcohol, and it's what's happening all over the world with drugs, in particular with marijuana now. If we want to stop this, the first best step we can take is to legalize pot yesterday and then end the drug war after that. And that is something that politicians have just been incredibly resistant to do for years. But look at the polls, man. Like, this is low-hanging fruit at this point. Legalizing marijuana is more popular than Obamacare, than the Republican tax bill, than President Trump, than Democrats, than Republicans, than Congress. I mean, of course, it's more popular than Congress. Nobody likes Congress, but everybody likes this at this point.
That is a statement of fact. Mm-hmm.
And so this is low-hanging political fruit that Congress needs to start looking at this and say this is a good idea, not just because it is a good idea, because it is moral and correct and will save lives and raise tax revenues and allow police the opportunity to attack things that are actually important. It's a good idea because it's politically popular, and you will keep your jobs in Congress making laws if you vote for this.
Yes. All right, so let's say that we end the drug war and we do what Canada has done and nationally, federally legalize cannabis in this country. And states, just like the provinces in Canada, they can decide how they want to do it and how restrictionist they want to be. How soon would that have an impact in the type of illegal immigration we're seeing right now?
I think that we would start seeing impacts in ways that some of which would actually be difficult to predict. I mean, this would be a big, complex change, but I think we would start to see impacts within a couple of years. We would start to see big changes. But look, you can already see changes in miniature how this plays out in places like Denver and Seattle, Washington. Have you been to Denver recently? Have you been to Seattle? They're not hellholes. They're great cities to live in that people want to live in.
I've been to Aspen and Colorado Springs, and I have to say, lovely places with nice people and a pretty orderly process for getting something specific for your checkout needs. Peter Suderman Computerman, thank you so much.
Oh, not only does she use cannabis, I'd say she was on cannabis for that report.
Suderman Computerman.
Because she was very distracted.
She would be more broad-minded if she used it more often.
What kind of a question?
How do we connect that shit?
Do you think that legalization in the United States, how will that affect illegal immigration? What does one have to do with other?
I don't know. It's really weird. It's fucking around in those countries and fucking with their governments that causes that immigration, we all know.
Do they not know that cannabis is no longer coming up from down under? It's avocados. The Mexican cartels have moved into avocados. Okay? If you're eating avocados in California, you're doing more, and it's not a California avocado, you're doing more to support the cartels than the people smoking California weed. So there you go. I don't know. I guess because the caravan is a big issue, and I guess all that. Yes, believe me, and if they're carrying weed, they're bringing. We did get an interesting anecdotal story from a doctor from Mexico, and where she secured
Dr. Hortensia,
where she secured her oil.
She gets hers from the trafficker. She gets the plant from the trafficker, and she cooks it for 20 days, at very low heat in olive oil. And she uses 3 drops breakfast, 3 drops lunch, and 5 drops at bedtime. And she's treating 200 children at an orphanage in Mexico. And she is amazing.
Talk about a movie.
She is a plant doctor. Yeah, she's fantastic. So, yeah, maybe we could do a documentary on her, too. I'd like to do a documentary on her, and I'd like to do a documentary on Dr. Jeff. But you know what would be better, probably, is a movie that people will go see instead of a documentary.
Perhaps an Alzheimer's pot comedy.
Oh, an Alzheimer's pot comedy, but Dr. Jeff's not part of it. He has to be another one.
He's another one. But we'll
do a sequel.
Where there's we ended up with about 4 different movie ideas from this.
It's true. This was amazing. This was a great thing. And everybody loved my earrings.
But Kennedy obviously did not really want to talk about this subject. It was a pro-legalization story.
Yeah, but I think even she thought it was stupid.
Even she thought it was stupid. And the question was stupid. He's like,
that's what I think she thought was stupid.
Kind of hard to say, but meanwhile...
Yeah.
Fox. All right, let's see. But you know, folks, it's good to have... When you have a come to cannabis moment, we've always said here on the show formerly known as DC 420 LA, and on the Reefer Revolution.
The show that has evolved from
DC 420
LA, right?
We've said that...
Reefer Revolution.
Reefer Revolutionaries. We have said that everybody comes to cannabis, either through the cures or the cash. And we'll take them any way we get them, quite frankly. And there's a couple of folks that are in the news. There's a couple of conservatives that are in the news this week because, the CANNMED 2018 conference wasn't the only conference going on this week in America around cannabis. As you know, we've covered a lot of the volatility within the cannabis stock market over the past couple of weeks because of our interest, but also just it's in the news. Tilray taking a dive. All of the pot stocks really taking a dive after legalization, the Canadian ones along with the American ones. But you know what they say? Buy on the hype, sell on the news. So might be time to start looking into buying again. But let's see what a couple of our good conservative friends, we have, it's such a challenge to who's in our camp for cannabis when they are, here's one reason why I don't think Dana Rohrabacher is a Russian stooge, is because he's pro-cannabis.
Yeah. And Russia hates pot.
Russia hates pot.
Yeah.
Russia hates it. So, after about a minute and a half of talking about the horde coming up in the caravan, quote, from the South, they did, Fox did get into this question for the good representative about his view on...
Skipped over all that part, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
We don't need to hear any more about that.
Yeah, enough of that.
Enough of that. I'm just trying to...
We try to focus on the good.
As much as we can. As much as we can, because that is very important to do.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's just see what Representative Rohrabacher has to say.
Congressman, you say that the White House is going to tackle marijuana reform after the midterms. Does that mean you want the president to reclassify marijuana from a classify 1 along with heroin and cocaine and reclassify it to a lower level? Is that what you want?
I personally would declassify marijuana the same way, as far as I'm concerned, marijuana should be treated like alcohol or wine or some other type of thing that has, yes, medicinal as well as recreational purposes, but has a downside. We know alcohol has a downside, but we have left that up to especially to the states and local government, but also especially to the American people themselves. This is a freedom issue as far as I'm concerned, and classifying marijuana up with heroin and cocaine and these other type of drugs has been irresponsible. It has not helped the American people decide how to live their own lives, and because it's irrational.
Okay, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, Republican, California, thanks for joining us.
It's Friday on the beat, and you know what that means. But today we have a special takeover edition of Fallback Friday with Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Let me get your deep.
Oh yeah, I stopped it because
okay.
when you said that to me, it distracted me and we moved into that other story.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. No worries. Okay. But that was Representative Dana Rohrabacher. It's about it's a freedom issue for him.
Yeah.
And as it is for most of us, at least the crossover on the right, there's that crossover on the right and the left. I think that's what really brings us together, is that this is freedom, this is liberté, it should be tomatoes, it should be alcohol, it should be brew your own beer, grow your own grapes, sell it at the farmer's market. I love those pop-up markets in Canada.
Yeah, me too.
And
outside they're everywhere actually. So yeah.
I wonder how you pull those off here, man.
Well, you can't be worried about being arrested.
Yeah.
Like, I think in Canada, it's been a thing for a long time where
they basically leave you alone.
They leave you alone. They don't bust your ass, even if you're smoking right there on the street in front of the freaking museum, which is totally weird. But okay.
Canadian cops are, they may be a little nicer, but they are cops.
They're still cops.
They were still, there was apparently somebody made a bust of guy smoking in his car right at 1 a.m., and they've been raiding the illegal, the unlicensed dispensaries.
Yes.
We told them we were coming, and now we're coming. So
we're just enforcing the laws.
Just enforcing the laws.
Guys,
so we're back up to Canada, but it is a liberté issue. It is a freedom issue, and Prohibition 2.0 up there, and that's probably what it's going to look like here. That's what it's looking like in California, certainly. In other places where it is becoming more illegal now that it's legal. They've got a list now. They've got an official list of all the people who are legal.
Where to find us?
And anybody that's not on that list can be rolled up. As you know. Yes.
If I wasn't on the list before, they're not doing their job right.
We're trying hard. We're trying to get on hard on somebody's list on this subject.
I'm a street artist, for fuck's sakes. I'm a published agitator.
That's Coach Chela.
Published agitator.
Norma Smithy, published agitator. It's funny. But let's go to our favorite mainstream rap pundit, Ari Melber, over on MSNBC. He had Method Man on the show this week, and of course the subject of cannabis came up, of course, because as it does when any of these folks get on the mainstream. And I'm just trying to find where it comes in. Here it is. I just want to not bore you with all the little stuff,
blah, blah, blah,
which
blah.
I just started to bore you with. But let's take a listen to how they handle this, and then that'll roll us into our John Boehner coverage. Here we go.
I want to get to your fallbacks.
Yes.
But starting with your music.
Yes.
It's not just hip-hop, but rock and roll.
Yeah.
And a lot of genres that talk about having fun and sometimes getting high. Here you were rapping about that.
Yeah.
Look up in the sky, it's the bird, it's a plane. The funk doctor spot smoking on the train. So how did I get kiss the sky?
So you see that there. Why is marijuana, pot, so important to the music and the culture to you?
Well, I think it opens up a whole new creative door. Honestly, it elevates you a little bit past where you are already. I think some of the most creative people in our business smoke pot, whether in the closet or outside the closet. I won't say any names, but, my influences weren't necessarily pot smokers, but it does help.
So who's on your list? Who needs to fall back?
police need to fall back with telling people to tell, you know, the whole stop snitching thing that they tell us, that's wrong. But when the blue shield comes up, that thing comes up, aren't they doing the same thing?
Yeah, we saw in Chicago, officers didn't want to testify in the shooting of Laquan McDonald.
Right.
The video showed a police officer shot him. That would seem to be what you're saying, a reverse no snitching.
Reverse no snitching.
My fallback is former Republican Speaker John Boehner. Okay. When he was in Congress, he was supporting a real crackdown on drugs. And we know from the data, black Americans 3 times more likely to be arrested for pot when the rates show they use at the same level as white Americans.
That's great.
He is now taking money from the pot lobby to lobby for pot.
Oh, the
what do you think about
hypocrisy.
that?
Oh, my God, what a hypocrite. You know what? Wasn't he the House Speaker before Paul Ryan? I think he needs to go get tanned a little bit more. No, I'm not going to insult the guy. You know what? People see that, I'm guessing people are coming around to the ills of marijuana. They're coming around to see that it was misjudged. In a sense, the actual plant. And
we overdid it in the war on drugs.
We overdid it in the war on drugs. To be classified the same as heroin and cocaine is ludicrous in my mind. So that needs to fall back. And what needs to fall back is the court of public opinion as far as social media. Wiz Khalifa.
So let's jump right in. Now, John, most folks are familiar with your story. You were born in Cincinnati, Ohio. You grew up in a working class family in a 2-bedroom house with 11 brothers and sisters.
And we all shared one bathroom.
You certainly didn't let your humble beginnings hold you back. In 1990, you were elected to Congress as a representative for Ohio's 8th District. You were a member of the Gang of 7, which exposed the House banking scandal. And in 1994, you helped craft the Contract with America. In 2011, you became Speaker of the House. And while you were in office, you were one of the staunchest opponents of cannabis. You said you were unalterably opposed to legalization. But then, in the spring of 2018, you shocked a lot of people on Capitol Hill. You joined the board of Acreage Holdings, one of the largest cannabis firms in America. So let's address the elephant in the room. How the heck did you have such a dramatic change of heart?
Well, Mike, that soundbite about being unalterably opposed to cannabis is almost a decade old. Back then, like a lot of folks, I was getting faulty information. And one of the turning points for me was when I met this Navy SEAL. Honorably served our country for 20 years. He suffered horrible concussions, and more concussions. And after he got out, he kept getting serious migraines. He couldn't see straight. He couldn't think straight. The VA prescribed him all these hardcore drugs. And he tells me, I don't want all these drugs. I've got a wife and kids, and I want to be a father. So he refused to take his medication. He was just suffering. Then he tries cannabis, and the migraines vanished. I started hearing a lot of stories like this. Vets using cannabis to treat their PTSD, depression, chronic pain. It was helping them. So I started researching the industry. Do you know cannabis was a major part of early America? Our founding fathers, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, both grew it on their farm.
No. We have to listen to this. It's obvious. Now, it's obvious look, I'm not going to play with it. This is an hour-long infomercial.
Oh, no.
For his stock trading suggestion racket, cannabis stock tip racket. Motley Fool is doing this too.
For a fee.
First of all, couple weeks, everybody's saying, oh no, I wouldn't get anywhere near cannabis. The cannabis stocks have tanked. You know who's going to buy into cannabis now? All the institutions.
And this guy.
Because they know of course, John, these guys took the Wikipedia on cannabis and made a script out of it. And allow John Boehner, the unalterable Speaker of the House and second elephant fan of spray tans, and he must have had to have a few wine to get to do this one. But before he was reading the script handed to him as Speaker of the House, which is the people that paid his bills, paid his salary.
Oh, that's right.
So that's the script he read on the House floor. And now he's reading the script from Acreage Holdings, because he's no longer on the floor. And along with Antonio Villaraigosa, he is one of the many politicians that he'll tell you, but allow us to be illuminated by the orange one on the history of cannabis in the United States.
Our founding fathers, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, both grew it on their farms. Take a look at this, Mike. You get a kick out of it. This is a $10 bill from 1914. And if the cameras could zoom in on this, you have President Andrew Jackson on the front. Back then, he was on our $10 bills. But if you flip this over, what do you see? Those are American farmers harvesting cannabis. Cannabis was such an important cash crop, it made it onto our money. Then you start digging into the medical uses, and it's astounding. Back in 1909, a leading American medical journal recognized cannabis as a potential cure for asthma and tuberculosis. You go back even further, 4,000 years ago, biblical times, that's when people started using cannabis as medicine. So I realized I was wrong. And let me tell you, I've been having more and more meetings with my friends and colleagues on the Hill about this. Some of the most conservative politicians around. And their views are evolving on cannabis too, just like the American people. This is a big phenomenon. Cannabis is here to stay, and this industry is only getting bigger. When I was presented with an opportunity to join Acreage Holdings, I jumped at it. We're a fully integrated cannabis firm with dispensaries, cultivation, and processing operations in 14 states, with 3 deals pending to take us to 17 states. We're a major player, and we're only getting bigger.
Now, you're all in on cannabis.
Yes, I'm all in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
You can see he's not sincere because he's not crying.
An excellent point, Chela. If he actually meant what he said.
Yeah, especially about the Navy SEAL. If he even heard what he said. He didn't hear what he was speaking out of his mouth.
Does the Navy SEAL exist? He can't make that up, right? He didn't make that up for the script. Because
I think the Navy SEAL exists, but I don't think he wrote that script.
I wonder when he obviously didn't write that script.
No, so that's why I think he's reading a story written by somebody else, but he's had personal experience with cannabis.
Awesome.
Just not that one.
Awesome information, by the way.
Yeah, I loved all the graphics and stuff, but he's so stiff. I wish he would re-record it with some tears.
So these 3 yahoos are part of this American Cannabis Institute, or I don't even want to give them any. But yeah, Holy Cannabis Oil made an interesting observation. These guys are all shorting the stocks so they can buy them cheap.
Right.
That's exactly what's going on in a lot of these stocks. Because it's like my new hobby now, watching that go on. And it is definitely something that's happening. Henry Sherman, I have to get a move. Thank you for the time and for being on. Have a good night. Chela and Cannabis Saves the World, DC for 20 LA. And I hope you'll feel better, Bonnie Lee. Thank you, Henry.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching. Come back whenever you can and watch the rest of the show. And join us live next week. Yeah, we got our first troll. Somebody thumbs downed us.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That's awesome. We must have reached that tipping point.
I love the contrast.
Thumb down trolley.
I love it.
Or maybe it's Kevin Sabat, one of these sane approaches to marijuana people.
Ooh, that'd be great. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
But thanks, guys. Yeah, give that thumbs up if you can. Share. Thanks for watching, everybody. He got the script with his stock and his paycheck. Yeah, they are basically this infomercial was to get people to join for $799 to get the newsletter with the 3 cannabis stocks that they have come up with that are about to explode and will be the hottest thing. And there's a bunch of companies doing this now. There's immediately speculation as to which cannabis stocks those are that he's talking about based on the information that he lets out in this hour-long infomercial. And the speculation is one of them is possibly Charlotte's Web Holdings, which is the company out of Colorado makes Charlotte's Web, Stanley Brothers, which have their own challenges with their medicine. And the other one is one of the other ones is Kush Company, Kush Bottles, which is a giant. I know Kush, and Kush is a big player. Kush is going to explode. If I had enough money to buy Kush, I would buy Kush. It's a little high for me because I'm not a trader really. But
not at all.
I think that's, or maybe
because capitalism is lame.
Maybe Kush is the cheap one in GW. I have to look at that again. But I looked them up, and one of them was out of my range. But I will not argue that there is a lot of opportunity in these there is a stock. There is definitely going to be a stock of a company that is going, whether it's GW Pharmaceuticals or MedMen or Charlotte's Web. It's going to be somebody that's going to either be absorbed into another company, probably a liquor company or a tobacco company or big pharma company, essentially, because all of these companies are looking to eventually sell to somebody, whether it's another giant cannabis industry company, but all of the big players are getting in. So that's going to happen. But there will be a stock. But that means there will also be a lot of these people trying to sell you their thoughts on what stock that's going to be. And as Goldman said about Hollywood, Henry Goldman, no, the book. Adventures
William Goldman?
William Goldman. Adventures in the Screen Trade. Nobody knows shit.
I was going to say there's a sucker born every minute.
No, that was the other guy. That was the circus guy. But
what's going on over there with the circle? Is that okay?
I don't know. We're green. We should be going out.
Okay.
But
it's fine on my computer.
But I will not put you through for some pretty useful information that Boehner illuminates. He has some predictions. Now, whether it's just a sales pitch or what he's talking has any actual validity, he did make a couple of interesting predictions based on his association with his former colleagues. And that is in the area of challenges to the cannabis industry being scheduling, the banking, and the tax law, which of course 280E. The scheduling, with regards to scheduling, his prediction is that we get full legalization under 5 years in the United States. In banking, his prediction is the votes are almost there and that it will happen shortly. And in the tax law, 280E, he believes that there are so many people looking to change that could possibly change within months, not years. And if that happens, that actually makes a whole lot of cannabis businesses much more profitable overnight. If they can write off their taxes like regular businesses, that, beyond legalization, will be a huge thing for legal cannabis businesses in the states that are taxing and regulating. So, interesting little tidbits of blowing cannabis smoke up our asses to get money for his service, to sell stocks. As other people are immediately doing. Don't give him any money.
That's not what we're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. No,
we're saying that
absolutely
because
not.
we wanted to show the contrast of where he stands now versus where he stood before, that asshole.
So do not give those guys any money.
No. Don't get us wrong.
If you want to invest in some cannabis stocks, do some research on your own and find something
It's not that hard. It's not like there's that many companies.
Aurora just went on the New York Stock Exchange, Canopy, and they're all dipping.
They're all
in the bottom of the channel right now.
They're
if you know
really
what I mean.
Expensive.
So some of them are, some are not. But they definitely took a dip, and it might be a good time to invest in some stocks. So. Just saying, I do not give financial advice. Disclaimer.
No.
I'm not an investor.
We definitely don't do that. We also don't give medical advice.
Yeah, and we don't give medical advice. This is an education show. We don't encourage anyone to do illegal activities.
Yeah, and
despite the fact we're called Reefer Revolutionaries.
Yeah, stay safe. Be careful out there. Take care of each other.
Hey, as Dr. Cox said, start low and go slow. It's a medicine. And the horse is out of the barn. So there's a story about. We'll get into that. Let's continue. No more Boehner, but that's the news out of his 1 hour infomercial.
Yeah.
Don't give him any money.
There were some really cool props.
It's happening.
And really cool graphics in that infomercial. That was the best part of it.
Listen, it's a Daily Dope. So Daily Dope says he went to the Jack Herrera Encyclopedia and got all of his information about cannabis. But yeah, it's very interesting to see these capitalists getting on board and realizing that's why the banking is going to change. I've said that. Banks don't want to lose out on this. $50 billion. Okay, so in one of the videos, he says, even without changing the laws in the United States, these are the way the investors are thinking. Okay, this is how the investors are thinking. Even without the change of laws in the United States, this is going to be a $50 billion industry in America. If the law changes and it's legalized in America, that will double almost overnight to a $100 billion industry, creating 1.1 million jobs. And that's what he goes and says to politicians, allegedly. So, don't get hooked in to get into his service. He's going to make plenty of money as part of his deal with Acreage Holdings, one of the largest medical marijuana producers and vertical integrated companies in the space. So he is going to make money in his retirement, and it's going to be in cannabis. So why not? Why not we? We might as well get on board the Vortex,
all should,
folks.
you guys.
Use your Vortex.
All of us
and
here.
Find your stock.
Or your green
or whatever it is.
Lotto machine, whatever it is.
Machine. Cannabis, CBD.
Follow your bliss.
As soon as the Farm Bill is signed into law, folks.
Soon.
We were going to do another little story in Cannabis Saves the World. Maybe we'll just play it in the New York block. No?
Whatever, let's keep going.
But anyway, industrial hemp is coming. And as soon as the Farm Bill is passed and signed, when they get over their issues, it's not hemp. It's going to be signed, and industrial hemp will be able to be transported across state lines in all 50 states. Game changer.
Huge.
Game changer. All the CBD companies are going to explode. I predict. I'm not an investor, but I predict. That's news that will send, the rumor of that news will send the stocks skyrocketing. When it actually happens, there'll probably be a sell-off to take profits, as happens in the market. But as soon as that happens, it's a game changer, and it's all over. It's just a new world for industrial hemp, and it's gonna change the industry overnight as well. So those two things are gonna happen really quick, probably maybe within the first 6 months of 2019. So we'll see if my prediction comes true on that. So that's going to conclude our national news. The economy, the politics of it all. If you're so inclined, DC420LA.com, a Cannabis Chronicle, is still up and running. I put out a little newsletter. It's going to remain. We're going to keep. I'm going to keep putting out the news every Saturday that I find interesting. BOEHNER's in there. Our lead story this week is a new study that came out by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has a little news clip we're going to look at later in the Southern Block, Bonnie Lee. But if you want to catch up on some of the news that we're talking about this week, as well as other things that are just too numerous to talk about, as well as elections. The elections are coming up, folks. It's next week, right? Are we going to be
6th.
Is this our last show before the election? No.
No, we got one next weekend.
One more next weekend. But this is the last show before Halloween.
It is.
And surprisingly, I have not seen any edible in the candy bag stories come through. I bet you those will be loaded in next week.
Next week.
We do have one spooky cannabis Halloween story.
That'll be fun.
So let's get into it, shall we? Where shall we start, Chela? 420
East.
Fred, are you still in the house? You were first in. Where are you at? Where shall we start? You want to start in the east?
Yeah.
Let's start in the south with Bonnie Lee.
South, okay, Bonnie Lee.
Let's start with that story.
Here we go, Bonnie Lee.
Let's start with that story. The Southern Poverty Law Center has come out with a study, and we're going to take a look at it right now. So this is coming out of, this is a video that basically encapsulates their problem. The problem. Alabama's marijuana possession problem. Here it is. With audio.
It cost Alabama roughly $22 million to enforce the state's marijuana possession laws in 2016. That's the cost of 191 additional preschool classrooms, 571 more K-12 teachers, or 623 more Alabama Department of Corrections officers. Yet, other states treat marijuana like tobacco and alcohol, regulating and profiting from it. 3 of the states where marijuana use has been legal the longest, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, have collected a total of $1.3 billion in new revenue. In 2016 alone, police arrested 2,351 people for marijuana possession. Each arrest can trigger the beginning of a lifetime of consequences, meaning a life put on hold at best, or completely derailed at worst, all for the mere possession of a substance numerous scientific studies find to be relatively safe. Between 2012 and 2016, 88.9% of people arrested for marijuana were arrested for possession, not sale, production, or trafficking. African Americans are disproportionately affected by Alabama's enforcement of its marijuana laws. In 2016, black people were more than 4 times as likely as white people to be arrested for marijuana possession. Police arrest black people for felony possession of marijuana 5 times more often than they arrest white people for felony possession. The number of marijuana arrests makes it hard for the state, with its underfunded forensic department, to process evidence of violent crimes. As of March 31st, 2018, the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences had about 10,000 pending marijuana cases, creating a 9-month waiting period for analyses of drug samples. At the same time, the department had a backlog of 1,121 DNA tests, including about 550 crimes against persons, such as homicide, sexual assault, and robbery. Decriminalizing marijuana would spare thousands of people from being ensnared in the criminal justice system. It's time to end Alabama's failed war on marijuana.
Those are just some horrendous, but not, I mean, overly, maybe even, I mean, not surprising. I suppose they're a little surprising about that disparity and the number of possession. 83, was it 84%? I guess we've known it, right? I guess we know that's going on. To see it quantified is what's shocking.
And that's the purpose of their publication.
Leave us pot smokers alone, happy guy, is right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, look at what it's doing. What an amazing use of resources that has been, because doing what they planned. That's right. You said it before we went on the air, I believe, or maybe you were on the air, that was a reason for the drug laws. Is to lock people up. So they're actually fulfilling their mandate.
Yeah.
By locking up users, possessing.
Yes.
That the drug laws were created for. So all of those felonies, they're not being investigated. DNA kits not being, that's across the country too. That's rape kits sit on shelves in Los Angeles.
Yeah, in a well-funded, quote unquote, well-funded big city.
Yeah, so
it's crazy town.
To not have the money to investigate those cases in Alabama because of what they're doing for smoking some weed, for possession. We're talking possession. We're not talking trafficking. We're not talking intent. We're talking possession. Bonnie. Yeah.
She knows all about it.
Wow.
She knows all about it.
So yes, and even holy cannabis oils. Yeah, we don't ship to Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah.
I don't know if Haley's Hope does either. It would be interesting to see if they did. But
interesting.
There might be some states they don't ship to. I don't know. But,
we're gonna find out for you, Bonnie Lee.
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out
if they do.
But that's a pretty jarring study.
Yeah.
To see it.
It's important to see that contrast to inspire the public to act.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they made that, share that around, let people know about it.
That was made by the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
And that's on their website on YouTube. It's on the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's move into the next Southern story.
Yeah.
As that just snaps us into some reality. what's going on down there in the war, the drugs have won, by the way, but anything we have a war on tends to win. That's weird. Isn't that weird? That's weird. But it fits very much into sourcey stuff. All right, let's see what's going on over at WJTV News. WJT12 News in... Oh, this is the Missouri story. No, Missouri? No, Mississippi. Sorry, got my initials messed up. This is Mississippi. See what's going on in Mississippi. Mississippi?
Where they grow all the government weed.
Where they grow the good 5.7% THC government research weed.
Yeah. That's where it's grown, Mississippi.
But if you apparently, if you want some good stuff, you're going to go to jail. But they're going to try to change that, at least for medical marijuana. Let's see what's going on in Mississippi.
A Mississippi lawmaker and breast cancer survivor will introduce legislation to legalize medical marijuana.
WJTV 12's Gerald Harris joins us now in the studio with more on this story. And Gerald, I understand this initiative is very personal to the author of the legislation.
Yeah, Mel, it is. State Representative Amiria Scott was diagnosed with a severe form of breast cancer in 2017. And through her battle, she realized there may be benefits to medical marijuana.
This is absolutely personal for me. On last year, I was diagnosed with catastrophic breast cancer, triple negative.
Representative Scott says she was limited in her treatment options. And while medical marijuana is not legal in Mississippi, she says she's learned from other patients.
But I learned a lot from other cancer patients whose state did have medical marijuana and what they were able to avail themselves of.
The lawmaker will like to see THC in medical marijuana-infused teas, ointments, and oils to help treat the worst of diseases.
I think there's any person in the state of Mississippi who has not been touched by cancer, Alzheimer's, MS.
She plans to introduce a bill in January during the new legislative session. A medical expert at the public hearing cautioned it should only be used in conjunction with the current treatment options.
For medical cannabis will add on to the existing armament that we have as physicians. I don't want to give it undue priority, but I think it's a tool that's not available and would be medically useful.
Medical marijuana is something that will help in as another step in that treatment. It is not something that treats the people by itself. It is always in conjunction with other medicines.
Representative Scott admits the battle over medical marijuana will be an uphill fight. Department of Public Safety Commissioner Marshall Fisher has come out against it and says there is an active push by a Mississippi organization to introduce a medical marijuana referendum in 2020. Reporting in the studio, Gerald Harris, WJTV 12.
It has now been almost 2 years since Arkansas voters agreed to bring medical marijuana to patients in this state. But court challenges and bureaucracy have kept the program from getting off the ground.
The Medical Marijuana Commission held a public hearing late this afternoon, hearing from frustrated Arkansans. Maureen Glisovic joins us with those remarks today. Maureen?
Well, the people I heard from are beyond frustrated at this point, wondering why the commission and the state is dragging their feet. Future medical marijuana patients, cultivation and dispensary applicants, and some attorneys asking commissioners to expedite the process and make this medicine available sooner rather than later. As of right now, 5 cultivation licenses have been handed out. 203 dispensary licenses are currently being graded by a paid-for consulting group. Some Arkansans even commented that the process was flawed and alleged corruption among some of the commissioners. Now, one future Arkansas patient you see right there, she left the state in 2007, moved to California to get medical marijuana for muscle spasms. She spent nearly 10 years away from family to gain access to that medication. She tells me she moved back to Arkansas in 2016 after voters passed this, and 2 years later now, she's now risking her freedom, flying back and forth to get her meds to avoid taking pills.
I was basically on Xanax for 20 years when I got to California in 2007. And by the beginning of 2009, I was off the Xanax. It took me a while to still get off of them after I got on medical marijuana, but I got off of them.
We were hoping that there would be a dialogue between the commissioners and applicants, or just the public in general. Obviously, there are a lot of questions raised by the media. And you know, this is a public commission. I think we, as Arkansans, deserve to get straightforward answers.
Now the commission meets again November 13th. They're expected to have some answers to today's questions. Beth?
Okay, Maureen Glisovic with the update today. Thanks a lot.
I'm in favor of legalizing medical marijuana. I think it would be a big help with the opioid crisis that we are facing, and it also seems to have great opportunities for treatment of a lot of stress disorders. Our veterans who are coming back from the wars and having problems would have a better alternative with medical marijuana than with some prescription medications that were now being used.
I support the use of medical marijuana. Since I've been in the legislature, I'm sort of an unlikely person to endorse medical marijuana. I've never used drugs or never been around that sort of scene before. But as I've gone out in my community, I've really heard, personal, heartfelt testimony from people who have cancer, who have really debilitating illnesses that cause a lot of pain, and they've told me that marijuana relieves their symptoms. And part of the reason we have such a severe opioid and drug epidemic is because some of the big pharmaceutical companies have prevented the FDA from testing and reclassifying the scheduling of marijuana. And, marijuana is a plant-based substance that's been around for a long time. It is not addictive in the same way that other more serious drugs are. And the most important thing about it to me is that it is relieving symptoms for very debilitating illnesses that our people are suffering from. And so I've co-sponsored this current legislative session, the medical marijuana bill, and we have a new group of legislators who are interested on this topic, who are sort of making some changes for the next year's bill. And I'm really excited to take a look at that and be a potential co-sponsor of that legislation as well if I'm reelected.
Use the word cannabis.
Well, hang on, Ronell.
This guy's cool.
So these, just to give you what you're hearing, what you're seeing and hearing, folks, if you're just listening on Pirate Radio or over on a podcast, these are all folks running in Kentucky House districts, mostly Democrats, some Republicans, but they've been putting these up every week. So this is part of that Kentucky race.
And a lot of them been super pro-cannabis.
Super Democrat and Republican across the board. Mackenzie nailed it, and she's got even a bill there in the State House. So that's
She's
pretty
an
cool.
incumbent.
Incumbent, yeah.
So even in the South, cannabis is taking over.
Yeah, well, we're seeing it. I mean,
saving the world.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a revolution.
Saving the world. It's the Reefer Revolution, people.
Yep.
Here is Ronell Brown, running in Kentucky House District 29. He prefers the word cannabis, as we all do.
As do we all.
Medical marijuana, I think, would, I want to use the word cannabis, would be very beneficial to so many people who are dealing with epilepsy, Crohn's disease, and so many other illnesses, PTSDs, so many illnesses that are impacting our community. And if we could somehow remove it from the Schedule I drug list, then we have opportunity to use it, and so that these individuals can get it legally and wouldn't have to worry about trying to get it from the black market or illegally. We know that so many families are impacted by substance abuse, but there's research has determined that cannabis could help with some of the opioid addictions. So it's a lot of good positives that will come from legalizing cannabis, and I would definitely be an advocate for the legalization of medical cannabis.
I'm for the legalization of medical marijuana. I am not for the legalization of recreational use marijuana. But at a time when opioids are flooding our market and many people are using them, to have access to medical marijuana for nausea because of cancer patient, epilepsy for children, and other medical conditions, I think it's time. Nearly 30 other states have legalized medical marijuana, and they have done a very good job with it. I think it's time for us to do that in Kentucky.
No, no, no. There's no Oklahoma news this week, Steve. Get back in your box.
Cicely, hi, new in the chat.
Hi, Cicely.
Grew up in Kentucky, and it always had a major underground market.
Oh.
But it's always been super duper illegal. I'm so glad it always had a major underground market, because you know what? I believe that to be the case all over the world.
I was going to say, quick hint. Everywhere has got a major underground market.
Yeah, I
Everybody's,
believe that to be the case.
That's what Rick Steve says this week. He was all over the news this week. He's actually, I believe, well, there's a news story in the Cannabis Chronicle about Rick Steves going to Missouri and pushing for Amendment 2, right?
Yeah.
So I'll find that story when we get into the Midwest, which we're about to go into.
The Midwest.
We'll move into the Midwest now. So yeah, that's Kentucky. Those are Kentucky lawmakers this week, in their own words, over there at WLKY, doing its service to the community in Louisville. We had Maria Sorolis, Mackenzie Cantrell, Ronell Brown, and even Rick Brand is for medical marijuana in Kentucky. So think about supporting them in the upcoming elections if you're out there. So let's move in. At times they are a-changing, folks. But there was we did dump one guy that said, "Well, I think we need more research."
Oh, more research! Get out of here.
Those guys.
You're fired from our show now.
As soon as somebody says we need more research, they have no idea what they're talking about.
They clearly don't know what's going on.
They have been sold a bill of goods by the American Medical Association, the FDA, and Big Pharma.
Yeah.
But let's continue into the Midwest. I will find the playlist here.
Here we go.
I go into my Dr. Schultz.
Did I say hi, Happy Guy?
Happy Guy. I said hi to Happy Guy earlier.
Hi, Happy Guy.
Happy Guy has been engaging in our engagement broadcast.
Totally. I don't know that I typed it in there. My hands are full now of tortillas, so I can't type
All right.
anymore.
We are having snack time.
It's
Where's
snacky.
Vegan Metro? We're having
snacky.
snacks. We're having snacks, Vegan Metro. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Reefer Revolution live on 420 on Sundays. Subscribe, get notification, thumbs up, share wherever you are on whatever platform. We're going out over YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, D-Live for the Lino blockchain, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network, and hopefully more places with all new, wonderful, more good shows. Expanding on our show that we've created with you guys over the last year. It's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We learn so much from people with their situation in their states, people under the thumb of the man and the laws of their states, and how they're struggling to even get cannabis at all. It's kind of a hard concept for us out here in California, considering the progressiveness of our laws with regard out here. But let's take a look at the challenges that are going on in the Midwest.
I want to make one cute little point of
I would love you to, because you do look very cute.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So does Jackpot, by the way.
Yeah, he's adorable in his little collar.
The lion in blue stripes.
We do need more research in the U.S. Of course, we'd love to do more research and get more specific. But there is already lots and lots of existing research to let people start getting relief.
That's really what we're saying.
That's what we mean.
We don't say there should not be more research.
Right.
We're saying there's
lots of research already.
30,000 papers. 30,000. I tell you what, since you brought that up.
Well, I was, Holy Cannabis Oil pointed out that there might be more research when they have been blocking it for 70 years. It's true.
This actually just came out October 24th on Leafly.
Ah, yes, Leafly.
They do this every quarter.
It's a good story.
And this is the part 3, the latest cannabis research, fall 2018. At a glance, this is all recent.
This is nice.
Entourage effect in rodent model breast cancer. Deeper understanding of cannabis anti-nausea effects. A shift in cannabis and schizophrenia theory. Clinical trial finds benefits of CBD in autism. Let's just scroll down to that one, shall we?
Yes.
Schizophrenia came up at the meeting this week.
CANNMED, it was all over.
Yeah. Clinical trial finds benefits of CBD in autism. This is in Israel. They talked about this at the conference. 61% of the parents felt their children's autism symptoms were improved by cannabis. With 20-to-1 CBD ratio, 60 Israeli children. Just brand new study. So we're not saying doesn't need to be more, because obviously there is, because there's a new frontier. Things are changing every day. There needs to be continued study. But that's no reason to stop something that has not killed anyone ever.
Yes.
That's the next question you ask. Show me the bodies.
Yeah.
Or statement. Show me the bodies. We need the research. We don't know how it's affected. We don't know how dangerous it is. We don't know what. Show me the bodies. Sorry. Bad thing to say this weekend.
Well.
Guns are definitely killing more people than cannabis.
Oh my God.
That I can tell you.
Oh, a million times.
But I digress.
Another show.
But I digress.
Yeah.
Cannabis has never killed no one. Cannabis saves the world.
Yep. Cannabis saves the world.
Let's get into the Midwest and see what's going on over there. I lost my... Here it is. Okay, here we go. This is fun. I love this show. Here we go. Reefer Revolution.
One year, more than 80,000 patients have registered for Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program. Elena LaQuatra joins us now here in the studio with much more about the growth of this industry. Elena.
Sean, according to Marijuana Business Daily, that number has jumped from 60 to 80,000 in the past 2 months alone.
Medical marijuana is providing relief to more than 80,000 Pennsylvanians registered for the state's program. The registry opening to patients just a year ago, the numbers continue growing. One of those 80,000 patients is Bart DePlacido. An accident more than 20 years ago left him with 2 bent discs in his back and eventually spinal stenosis, causing Bart severe back pain and discomfort.
I went through opioids. I tried other things like that over the counters. I'm, like it says, with my allergies, so that kept me from doing a lot of stuff like that. So I would just kind of like deal with the pain.
Bart says he gets the most relief from using medical marijuana in the form of concentrates and vaporization. He says it eases his pain and helps to take his mind off of any discomfort. In Pennsylvania, medical marijuana also comes in the form of oils, dry leaf, topicals, and capsules. There are 20 physicians here in Erie County that are certified to register patients facing a number of medical conditions.
There are 21 medical conditions that are currently eligible for treatment with medical cannabis, everything from ALS, Parkinson's disease, autism, epilepsy, glaucoma.
Green Thumb Industries, or GTI, is the parent company of the area's only dispensary, Rise Erie. They also operate the grow process cultivation facility out of Danville in Pennsylvania. Late in July, the state awarded 13 additional grower-processor licenses, showing this market is expected to continue growing across the Commonwealth, continuing to help Pennsylvanians like Bart.
They got to go further. I mean, they got to just keep going with this because...
The Marijuana Business Fact Book says the Pennsylvania medical marijuana market will hit at least $50 million and up to $80 million in sales this year. Jill?
Thanks, Helena. If you have
Debate over marijuana in Michigan is heating up as we get closer to the November election. Proposal 1 on the ballot would legalize the recreational use of a drug that is already legal for medical use in our state. 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson has the pros and the cons.
Soon marijuana could be as easy to buy as liquor or fine wine, and people on both sides of this issue want to make sure you have all the information you need to vote.
Pot, weed, ganja, dope, grass, reefer, Mary Jane. You'll find it all front and center on the Oakland County Health Division's website, along with all the street names for marijuana and the potential risks of using, especially for Oakland County youth.
We're trying to present a more factual presentation from the
health officials.
Oakland County Executive L. Brooks Patterson says he wants residents to know marijuana can be dangerous.
The active ingredient of marijuana is THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. That is hallucinogenic. Now, you don't see anybody out there saying, let's legalize LSD.
Terry Ward disagrees. He owns medical marijuana facilities in the county.
That's the whole purpose of regulation, is to make sure we get this off of the black market. We put it in the hands that can be controlled by state officials to make sure that it's not getting in the hands of children. Not to mention it's filling the state coffers. There's money coming, tax revenue coming out of their ears.
If profit is what it's all about, if that's really the reason behind it, let's legalize prostitution. What the heck? But why stop there? How about heroin and cocaine? I mean, if all you want is the revenue, you don't care about the social effects.
Since then, we've dealt with hundreds of patients, children, elderly people, all types of conditions and illnesses. Just so many positive stories out there.
As with any issue on the ballot, make sure you do your own research so you're prepared to vote. I'm Jennifer Ann Wilson, 7 Action News.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer Ann. And marijuana in Michigan will be the topic of a special Detroit 2020 town hall this Thursday. It's happening from 7:30 to 8 p.m. We will be answering your questions about the upcoming vote on Proposal 1. It will be airing live right here on 7. We'll also be streaming it live on WXYZ.com and, of course, on our Channel 7 Facebook page.
That's cool. A marijuana town hall in Michigan on Prop 2. Prop 2? Prop
I
1.
hope that maybe somebody can go to it in real life
and report on
let
it.
us know how it is.
Mm.
Or Periscope it, or
Well, it's going to be live. It's going to be they're going to be streaming it, so maybe
okay, well, yeah.
Maybe I'll restream it.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe I'll restream it.
Yeah, you should restream it.
Okay.
Oh, we're not allowed to? That's not good.
I
don't know.
I wouldn't. I don't think it's a local market. If it was CNN, they would definitely shut me down.
Oh, we don't want that.
But maybe we can max headroom it, and it'll be okay.
MST 3000, you mean?
Yes, MST 3000.
Hey, do you guys know what MST 3000 is?
Quick quiz.
MST 3000. Can I say the whole name or just MST 3000?
No.
Why?
Because that's if somebody doesn't know what that is,
they don't know what.
If they know what that is, they know what it is. You don't have to say the other.
What if they don't? They jog their memory. MST 3000.
I'm jogging my memory.
It's been a while.
I'm jogging my memory.
I'm going to say the whole thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Mystery Science Theater 3000. Anybody remember that? Anybody know what that is?
We have a
We have a little friendly debate going.
It's a nickel bet. But I am. We did break out the air riser. You're
Blaster
right.
Master. Here is the air riser.
You're right. I could cut to your camera, but it's not really here.
Here, it's okay. I'll just do this. Oh,
there you go.
That's hilarious.
There you go. Did you unplug it?
I moved it up.
Nice glow. It gives a nice glow from the blue light.
Dave thinks I'm not lit enough.
Yeah.
I think I'm plenty lit.
You think you're plenty lit.
Thanks.
I'm not. You know what? You know who's not lit enough?
You're super lit.
You know who's not lit enough?
You're really overlit.
Me. I need another bag. These stories. I need to be lit for this next one.
Okay, it looks like
this next one's so boring. I don't want to play it.
Knows what MST 3000 is.
They do. Okay.
So you would know what cannabis. What do we call it? Cannabis News Theater 420.
420. Cannabis News Theater 420.
Yeah, Cannabis News Theater 420.
One of the names we were throwing around in our vortex last night.
I really like Reefer Revolution. I think that's the one.
and this is a perfectly yes, Reefer Revolution. I think is
good.
Thanks,
Cicely. You're super kind.
Good stoner show.
I hope that you'll subscribe.
It's a different kind of stoner show.
We're evolving. Yeah, we're evolving. We've just made our name, Reefer Revolution.
I got to put on my fan.
Which is exciting for us. And we're in the process of, the channel going from DC 420 LA to Cannabis Saves the World.
Which only meant something to me.
No, because Holy Cannabis Oil got it.
You got it.
Dave and Chela, 420, Los Angeles.
Right.
But I think Holy Cannabis Oil might be the only person in all the world.
That's what it became. That wasn't what it started out to be.
Right, that's true.
It became, it's irrelevant. It's in the past.
That's right.
It's revolving,
All right,
expanding.
here we go.
And we're going to expand right now
Reefer
past
Revolution, I like.
past this.
Because we talk about the news, and that's a lot of reefer madness.
Exactly. Well, that's great. And also,
this is a revolution about it.
And we're talking about the politics. So
And
we're gonna
politics.
So Reefer Revolution is still going to be blunt commentary about the mainstream media. We'll bring you your local shows. Looks like we hit one. We hit one tonight. You stay on the show long enough, you eventually get a story from your local news market. And
yeah. No, this was a guy that I've never seen in the chat before.
I know, and all of a sudden, hey, it's my news station.
I'm so excited to have heard from a new person who was like excited that their local news was being shown.
So that's what we do. We find, there you go. First time I saw Cosmic Lettuce. First time I saw Santa Claus Conquers the Martians was on MST3K. Now I watch it every year. They're trying to reboot it. I don't know how well it's doing. I haven't watched it, but yeah, it's a classic. So you'd get the reference, most of you, which is great. But I think
our people. That's
you are
why.
our people. That's right. I'm not going to play this extremely boring MLive video we were talking about the 5 surprises of Oregon and recreational marijuana, because it's really pedantic. Is that right? Is that the correct use of that word? I don't know. But let's go to this next story coming out of WXYZ Detroit, and the future impact of this possible vote. I mean, it's big. Michigan is big. There's a couple of states that it's on a number of ballots. It's on every ballot. Let's just be clear about that. It's on every ballot. I guarantee it. If you look at your ballot, there is some issue that Mick 88. That's what it was.
Is it Mick or Mike?
Mike or Mick. Somewhere on your ballot is a cannabis related issue. Especially if you're in a state that's just legalized it, because we're about to.
There's cannabis on our ballot, even without there being cannabis on our ballot.
That's right.
Excuse me.
They're hiding it. They're hiding the fact that cannabis is on our ballot in Los Angeles. Because, did you turn your off?
No.
Oh, okay, I'll mute and go to a video. Okay, we're going to go to the Detroit story, and then Chela's got something to say.
Yeah, about the voting thing.
Okay, here we go.
Now, if Proposal 1 passes in November, recreational marijuana would become legal, and that could cause some confusion in the workplace and for workplace drug policies.
7 Action News reporter Matthew Smith is live to sort it all out for us. Matthew.
Yeah, and there's going to be a little bit of confusion moving forward here, right? If it's legal to smoke marijuana, if it's legal to have an edible, are you okay to actually do that in the workplace, or not even in the workplace, but maybe per your employees' standards? Are you allowed to do it on your own time? According to the experts, it really may depend on who you work for. We've seen pot shops pop up for medical reasons, but come November, voters get a choice whether they'll legalize it like 8 states before us. And as more and more states legalize recreational marijuana, studies are showing more and more people are smoking, or at least getting caught. Quest Diagnostics reports 2017 was a banner year, an all-time high for people failing drug tests.
It's just going to be a headache. It's going to be a headache for employers.
Deborah Gordon, an employment attorney, tells me that's because the law set to hit the books really just legalizes. Michigan remains an at-will state.
What the employer is going to be stuck with now is dealing with people who are using recreational marijuana, maybe on their drive to work, who knows? And what do I do with that employee? Now what do I do? There's no law that tells me what I do. I have to figure out on my own. How am I going to handle an employee who's walking in here under the influence of marijuana?
And there's reason to wonder how they'll react. I reached out to more than a dozen top employers in Michigan. Ford, for instance, has no intention to make changes right now. DTE will test and adds this, quote, due to the nature of our work as an energy company, DTE is required to perform drug testing in accordance with federal and state laws. We have no plans to change our company's current drug-free policy, even if recreational marijuana is legalized in Michigan, end quote. Of course, if you ask the public if jobs should care, you get a very different answer.
You clean and sober when you come to work, I say it really shouldn't make no difference.
I don't believe that employers should care if you're off the clock and not at work.
You know you're not going to come to work drunk, so as long as you're not coming to work under the influence, then it shouldn't be a problem.
keep in mind, we aren't the first state that would be legalizing recreational marijuana. 8 other states and the District of Columbia already did it. So you can kind of see that there's a path, changes that will happen over time, challenges that will happen inside of courtrooms if people are fired as a result of this. But the reality is this is going to be a growing period. There is a lot of gray area. And yes, a job can now tell you potentially, even if it's legal, you can't smoke recreational marijuana. We'll have to see what happens if people start to say that to their employees. We're live this morning. Matthew Smith, 7 Action News.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Here's an idea. Don't drug test people for marijuana.
Yeah. It's medicine. Back off, Jack.
How about
Go
that?
away. Back off. So, what I was going to say about the election in California.
Yes.
And Los Angeles specifically. So we've got Kevin DeLeon is running to unseat Dianne Feinstein. Feinstein is super duper anti-pot, and Kevin DeLeon is pro-cannabis. So you should know the difference between the two and vote accordingly. Also, there's a measure in Los Angeles proper called Measure B. That would be for a local bank, and it's a step in the right direction. So there's that. So make sure you look at your ballots and make sure you suss out what could be meaningful to the cannabis space.
Yeah, Holy Cannabis Oil points out it's 2020 is going to be a big one.
Oh, it's going to be huge. But
it's starting this year, for sure.
But I think that it's entirely possible that this president, could take it off the Schedule 1 with a stroke of a pen.
Hey, you know what? You know what that would do?
Elect him for 2020.
Why are we talking like this?
I'm just saying.
It might be the perfectly vaped cannabis at 388 degrees Fahrenheit, which we have found to be the perfect medicinal.
It's in the chat.
Temp. What's in the chat?
This is what we're talking about.
Oh, well,
if
let me just say
Bernie's the
this.
nominee, it will be a major part of his platform, and in that case, Trump will likely run on it as well.
Right.
Blaster Raster.
Yep.
Trump will take the air right out of the room and be like, "Oh no, that's stupid."
Oh,
done. Boom.
And guess what that'll
Second
do?
term.
Here's the second. Not only will that get him reelected,
motherfucker.
No one will have to go to the polls to vote for cannabis.
Right. So
therefore, it will suppress the vote.
Yes.
Because cannabis brings out the vote.
Why are we talking about
cannabis
this?
is the number one reason people come out to vote.
This is terrible.
In this year.
Okay.
In the recent elections.
But at least cannabis will be off of Schedule 1.
But cannabis will be off. Yeah, but that's what I'm going to say. Listen, Utah tried, they tried to do that in Michigan. They tried to do that in Michigan. They tried to do that in Michigan they were thinking about passing a law and making it legal so that people wouldn't go to the polls. Because cannabis brings people out. In Oklahoma, we saw it in Oklahoma. Oklahoma. It brings more people voted in that election or in that off primary election for cannabis than came out in the general. So, okay, race, but this is going to be the issue of 2018 and 2020. If not, I say it's 2018. If it definitely will be the issue of 2020, and top of the list.
Yeah.
And what's the percentage of people that smoke cannabis across the United States? I don't have that number in my head. What is anybody?
No, but 66%
anybody in the chat have that number?
want it to be legal.
I know, but how many people use it? There's a number.
Use it? I don't
There's
know
a number.
the number.
There's a number they throw out there.
Yeah.
Pretty good sized demographic. That's an interest group.
Yeah.
That actually is a good number.
And we vote. Cannabis smokers are more educated than non-cannabis smokers.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
right. 43% have used it. Thank you, Holy Cannabis Oil. 43%. That's a large number of people in the United States.
That's
a
more
large
than enough
voting
to
bloc.
be elected.
It's a large voting block.
Stupid two-party system.
Cannabis saves the world.
38 to 43. Thanks for looking that up.
Thank you.
All right. So what's next?
Next, we go to Ohio, where they are struggling with their medical marijuana program.
Ohio.
With their medical marijuana program. In this budding industry.
Those guys.
a marijuana program, a medical marijuana program.
So the bottom line is, tell everybody you know that you use cannabis one way or another in your life, so that it becomes normalized.
We keep running into those people that are like, my mother told me she uses CBD.
Nice.
I can't believe she's doing it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So here we go. Ohio. John Boehner's from Ohio, as we saw. So let's see, what's the holdup? What's the holdup in Ohio?
Well, the debate over marijuana in Michigan is heating up as we get closer to.
But wait, that wasn't Ohio. Let's try this one.
NBC4 at 5. We are just potentially weeks away from weed's legal debut right here in the Buckeye State, when Ohio patients will be able to buy and use marijuana.
Yeah, this for nearly 24 approved medical conditions. But before that, grow operations across the state must be ready. And only on NBC4, we got to look inside one just west of Columbus.
Just pruning some pot. It's all in a day's work for Sean Demi.
There's a lot of science that goes into it.
The Columbus native is one of just a handful of so-called cultivation agents in the state of Ohio.
When a leaf has damage on it, it's causing stress to the plant.
He's helping grow marijuana at Cresco Labs in Yellow Springs, the first marijuana buds in an industry that's just budding itself.
And nearing the first harvest, so we're excited.
Dennis Plamondon is the director of cultivation of the 50,000 square foot facility. It's one of 13 licensed level 1 or large growers in Ohio, all getting ready for the day marijuana patients can get their medication.
We're looking to have our product in throughout the state by the first of the year.
Every grower must tag and track each plant from seed to sale.
With about 400 plants in this room, this will be Cresco Labs' first product brought to the Ohio market.
But while Cresco Labs has got its green light for January 1st,
drying room here.
Some growers say they'll be ready by December, although the Department of Commerce does not yet have an exact debut date. The industry roadblocks continue as medical marijuana is not expected to be widely available until well into next year. This as the state's 26 growers and 14 processors come online. It's also not clear exactly how much it will cost. And right now, there are only 319 doctors allowed to recommend medical pot and only 56 dispensaries with provisional licenses to sell it.
Process of the plant's life cycle.
Still, Plamondon is confident it will all come together.
To have the patients of Ohio get the best medicine available.
And on the other side of the business, Cresco Labs expects to hire up to 60 more employees in Yellow Springs.
Here we're doing it's medicine.
New careers for people like Sean Demi, eager to get into what other states has become a million and in some cases billion-dollar industry.
I wish I had a really good way to say that, but it's hands down it's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Now, right now, 31 states and Washington, D.C. have
parents have been asking school districts, can you administer the CBD oil to my child during the school day?
Before giving an answer, those districts have contacted Peter Zawadzki.
The first question is, what is CBD oil?
Parents turning to the hemp-based product.
And it's supposed to help with stress and anxiety.
To help their child concentrate throughout the day.
It's been used as a substitute for the more potent drugs for ADHD.
But the move to bypass traditional treatment options like Adderall and Ritalin is now considered illegal, according to the Ohio Board of Pharmacy.
They included CBD oil as a controlled substance.
Zawadzki, an education attorney at Walter Haverfield,
it's still unclear if it's really a controlled substance.
Tells me at least 3 local districts have contacted him with concerns.
They're thinking, well, if you could buy it in the store in Ohio, it must be legal, and administer other homeopathic remedies to students based on their parental requests, so why not?
Despite the move by the Board of Pharmacy, CBD oil advocates stand by its continued use.
Clothing products made out of hemp, purses made out of hemp, rope made out of hemp
are all those illegal? They've never been until Ohio stood to make money.
Criminal defense attorney Ian Friedman says hemp CBD does not have the level of THC required to fall under the Controlled Substance Act. But proving each product on the market falls into that category is a burden Zawadzki says would be placed on school districts.
Hold off, don't administer this. You don't really want to be on the wrong side of the law. You don't really want to start investigating what are the ingredients in this. You don't have time or the money.
Reporting in Cleveland, Mike Brookbank, News 5.
Medical marijuana become law in Indiana. Legislators studying that possibility held a hearing this afternoon in the House chambers. The measure is appealing for those with health and pain issues. Working for you, RTV6's Derek Thomas reports on this.
31 states have medical marijuana laws. Proponents want Indiana to join those ranks this upcoming session. 70-year-old Grace Bell is one of those people. She damaged her spine in 1983 and endured surgeries that still cause her pain today. She walks with a cane down the steps of the State House, the place where she hopes a law will be passed.
Cannabis not only relieved the pain, it allowed me to be more active and participate in my own life. Here, without cannabis, I tend to be more of I sit and knit a lot. It's something to stay busy without being too physical. But lack of physical activity is only making things worse.
But opponents at the hearing, especially prosecutors, want to put the brakes on passage and suggest more research.
Let's let the science do its job. Let's not just hand out or have the legislature declare that marijuana is medicine. That sends the wrong message, especially to children.
Bell disagrees, and even as she continues to struggle with her health, she will continue to fight for medical marijuana. Derek Thomas, RTV6.
Thank you, Derek. And the Marshall County prosecutor is a cancer patient and would like to have the opportunity to use medical marijuana. You will hear from him on RTV6 at 6 o'clock.
Now,
medical
marijuana has been...
She's Jello shots, by the way. That blonde girl is the newscaster blonde girl. Sorry, that was disrespectful.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
But
is it her cold shoulder that makes you talk about her like that?
Look. Political.
I'm sorry, was that the outfit she was
wearing?
wearing?
What she was wearing.
I'll try to find her. What happened?
Keeping her, not taking her seriously because she's exposing her shoulders on television in an ice cold studio.
She just seems like the Jello shot type. Moving on. We got some more stories, folks. We're gonna keep moving.
Here we go. And thank you, Holy Cannabis Oil. You're super sweet.
Oh, Holy Cannabis Oil, one of our
Very
OG supporters. Thank you. We're going to meet soon. Here we go. 41 action news out of Missouri.
The cat Reed shows deep inside a cave in Liberty. There's a farm unlike many others. Only on 41 Action News, reporter Cat Reed shows us the business hoping to go from hops to pot. But it all comes down to your vote.
So get a baseline for the RH, the temp, the CO2 at various
It's not your average science class.
Wow, that's really good.
This one requires a green thumb.
I've killed every plant I've ever owned except for the 4 that I have alive in the other room.
Inside a cave in Liberty, these students are learning how to grow hops. Jonathan Calicote of Hops 21 is the teacher.
Really, this is very technical work.
Growing hops isn't the end goal. All of this is a training ground for a different but very similar plant.
It's uncanny, really, how much the hops plant resembles marijuana.
After spending several years working in a genetics lab, Calicote moved out to Washington State. That's where he learned how to cultivate marijuana. When he moved back to Missouri, he had the idea to practice with hops until medical marijuana became legal.
I pitched the idea to my father.
I said, okay, we'll give it a shot.
The father-son duo quickly realized their operation wasn't big enough for distribution, so they pivoted to education.
It's not flat.
Teaching the ins and outs of hops to people like Nancy Cook, who hopes to one day sell CBD oil.
I'm really excited to have that opportunity to give it to people in need.
The Calicotes have plans too. They bought a nursery in southwest Missouri where they hope to grow medical marijuana.
The ability to use hops in lieu of marijuana in preparation for marijuana so that we can dial in things like SOPs has just been a huge advantage to us.
It's an investment bringing father and son closer together, too.
It far exceeded my expectations.
Reporting in Liberty, Kat Reed, 41 Action News.
So there are 3 medical marijuana proposals on the ballot in Missouri. To learn about each one, you're a click away. Head to our website, kshb.com.
There'll be one question on the ballot in Milwaukee County about legalizing pot for recreational use. It will be one of 16 counties with a marijuana question. Now, in this case, it's only an advisory referendum. It won't impact any laws or ordinances on November 6th, but it could lead to a change in the state.
Nothing would change. It's purely advisory. So it just lets them know, hey, this is what people, their opinion or their poll of this particular issue. It sends a message to elected officials as to what is important to the electorate.
Milwaukee County is one of 4 counties with a question regarding legalizing recreational marijuana. 10 other counties will have a medicinal marijuana question, and 2 will question both.
Take a look. These capsules, creams, and drops are the first ever legal medical cannabis in Iowa.
I'm releasing these products for the first time. This has never happened in Iowa. We've never had products that are legally available for sale containing medical cannabis, and so this is quite a momentous day here for us.
The brand name is Alleviar. The products come from MedFarm. That's a Chemin Industries company growing marijuana and processing the oil in this unassuming remodeled warehouse just southeast of downtown Des Moines. The different products contain varying amounts of CBD and THC. They cost from $30 to $130. And only people with 10 qualifying medical conditions like cancer, seizures, and Parkinson's disease can buy Alleviar. MedFarm also unveiled what the new Windsor Heights dispensary will look like when it opens next month.
We want them to walk into our dispensaries feeling a sense of relief, feeling a sense of comfort, and feeling invited.
Medical cannabis is legal after a long and controversial political and medical battle in Iowa. MedFarm says its job as the only Iowa producer is to make sure the medication works.
We understand that there will be some of that fear for patients, for doctors, for legislators as this program opens. We want to do every single thing we possibly can to help eliminate some of that fear and show that the true goal of all of this is compassionately helping patients.
Medical marijuana has...
The CEO from Australia was at this CANNMED.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What did he say?
I don't know, but I have his card. I can't remember why, but I've got his card.
Well, you were high, that's why.
No, I got a bunch of people's cards because I said a bunch of crazy stuff. I stood up at all the things and I said stuff, so people gave me their cards a lot. Like, here. I'm like, oh, yay, here. So I'm going to send him an email when we, anyway. Yeah.
You know what? I think you're right. Somebody mentioned that Clear Channel or somebody throttling the internet. Maybe it's Spectrum. Maybe Spectrum is throttling. Who knows? But yeah, a little glitchy. But we got that going. We got it going out now. Again, we're back. We're gonna skip those other, in their words, on medical marijuana. And look at that. It's in 16, was that 16 counties?
Yeah, in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
Draconian Wisconsin.
But doesn't mean anything. Okay, don't think you're going to get your medical pot or anything.
Just like your comments to the FDA.
That's right.
Don't mean anything, technically. They still want your comments.
Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. Great name. Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. Very
Dude,
clever.
I have a medical condition, but I can't remember what it is. That's good because they have actually one of the very first uses of cannabis thousands of years ago was to help memory problems. So there you go. Cannabis is right up your alley, Bob's your uncle. Thanks for joining us. Give us a big thumbs up and a share. This is, of course, Reefer Revolution live, the 5-hour show on Sundays. We're gonna have to cut it down now because we're gonna do 2 other shows on Sunday.
Show.
So we're gonna have to cut down Reefer Revolution because there's gonna be a call-in show now too.
Well,
so
that way
we're gonna be out. We're gonna be broadcast just like who was it last week said we should broadcast 24 hours a day.
No,
not quite. We're gonna need a little money for that if we want to do that, but we'll see.
No.
I think you're right, Jill. I think our new show is gonna take off.
It's expanding.
And it is definitely expanding, and you guys are going to be along for the ride. So welcome our our Canna family, CJ Apo, yo Canna family, welcome to Reefer Revolution. Let's get into the West Coast, folks.
West Coast, best coast.
Last news block. Of course. Oh no, we have to go to East.
What?
I'm ahead of myself. We forgot East.
East Coast.
Do we do East first? Let's
yeah,
do East first.
yes, do East Coast because they should be going to sleep soon.
There's only a couple of stories.
All right,
in the
East Coast.
So let's do. We got a quick look coming from CBS Boston, and let's see what they have to say. With sound. Oh, I know what they have to say. We're going to make a lot of fun of this one. Here we go. It's a quickie too.
Quickies are good.
On the Health Watch tonight, days after Canada became the second country to legalize marijuana, Canadian scientists say it's time to conduct more research on the effect smoking pot may have on the lungs. Dr. Malik is here. So is this a little too late?
Well, I think it just goes to show that there are experts out there who are still really concerned about the long-term effects. I mean, many are touting the medicinal uses, but I think a lot of experts are saying those are being overstated and the potential risks might be understated. We know that marijuana is similar to tobacco, but it has THC, which causes that characteristic high. But there have been some studies to suggest that smoking marijuana can cause inflammation in the lungs, can lead to bronchitis. But what about long-term use? Can it lead to lung cancer? Can it cause COPD or chronic lung disease? And the answer is we don't really know. So they're saying now that it's been legalized in Canada and now that there's greater worldwide use of it, that we really do need to have some large-scale studies with animals and humans to try to figure out what those long-term risks are.
So that people can make choices based on that information.
Exactly.
All right, well, this is interesting.
Actually, your next story is not interesting at all, so we're not going to listen to it. However, we would like to just interject.
We have information to share on this very subject.
Here's one such study, a slide from the summary of one such study as I turn off our air riser.
He went on and 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 on for about 20 minutes about how he conducted the study and how thorough it was and all the populations that they studied and all the things that they did, and all the controls, and even among HIV/AIDS patients, they came to the conclusion that even in them.
Yeah. Well, it says it does not appear to increase risk of pneumonia, even in individuals immunosuppressed due to HIV, impairs bacterial and fungal killing by Ella Villicar. I'm not going to try to pronounce all of
blah,
this.
blah, 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 blah.
But she is right. It does increase the risk of chronic bronchitis with histopathic evidence of loss of ciliated epithelium. It was a very boring
But he said, basically, it's no big deal.
Yeah, at the end of it, yeah. He said, yeah, we looked at this, and it really doesn't do
Doesn't
anything.
really affect anybody that bad. It's no big deal. Room full of doctors.
Even with HIV patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a little, maybe a little chronic bronchitis for long-time users, or maybe possibly. But
So use oil. Fine, and smoke from time to time.
or smoke a perfect. Actually, somebody asked that question in that exchange with him.
Yes.
About vaping.
Oh, yes, vaping.
About vaping at a 388 degrees. To boil the terpenes and the medicinal stuff and leave the other carcinogenic stuff away. And he was asked that question, and he says, oh, well, we should probably take a look at that.
He wants more money for another study.
He wants more money for another study. But basically, his study, recent study, said that really it's no long-term cannabis smoking use is really not that big of a problem. Certainly for what they're worried about, cancer, lung cancer, and pneumonia, and chronic diseases.
Yeah.
Other than possibly bronchitis. So, smoker's cough. Go to vaping. Go to tinctures. Go to edibles. Find your dose.
Have a little fast.
Have a little fast.
Cut down on
your dairy and your sugar.
Yeah.
And your wheat.
Lots of things. Lots of variables.
Oh, that was actually pretty good. There was a whole thing on the gut. And the gut was amazing. The gut presentation was really cool. The prebiotics, probiotics, and It's so huge. It's gonna
Diversity is good.
Literally, you go crazy if your gut isn't working right.
Diversity is good. That's right. So guys, mind your gut.
Yeah, mind your gut. And he did the one THC related thing he sort of talked about. It was he dispelled the rumor that marijuana smokers are
obese. That's
because of the munchies, because the cannabis actually regulates it. So the skinny stoner is much better. Hippie was a much better stereotype.
Yeah.
Stereotype.
Moving on to the East Coast.
Moving on. Next story out of this. Oh, do we? Okay, so this is the 8-minute debate. Do we want to play the 8-minute debate?
No, I don't want to play the 8-minute debate. We're running long.
We have time.
Let's move along.
We'll play it in the afterburn.
Yes.
I'll throw up some stuff we didn't get to in the afterburn. How about that?
Yes.
But I do want to play this story out of WGRZ TV. Like we said, it's more illegal now that it's legal. Not that what this guy
work
did.
On that.
What? It's more legal. It's more illegal now that it's legal.
I was gonna say we want to make it.
Yes.
Better.
I'm going to work on that.
I don't mean that.
Okay.
I mean we need to work on making it better now that it's legal.
Right.
Liberté. From legal to liberté.
Tomatoes.
Or kale.
All right, here we go. But
Let's go.
But you knew it was going to happen, and of course, the mainstream media picked up on it. Here we go. Funny story.
Well, it was just last week. Recreational marijuana became legal in Canada, and just 8 days later, a guy was arrested at the border for trying to bring some back to the United States.
Investigators say he tried crossing the Peace Bridge with a glove compartment full of pot. 2 on your side's Kelly Dudzik digs deeper tonight.
8 days is all it took for someone to be arrested here at the Peace Bridge and charged with trying to bring marijuana from Canada back into the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers arrested 23-year-old David Dratch from Montgomery, New York, Thursday. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Dratch said he didn't have any drugs with him during his initial inspection, but he got a secondary inspection where a canine zeroed in on a scent in the glove compartment area. Prosecutors say officers found 6 envelopes of marijuana, 2 jars of marijuana resin, 4 packs of THC-infused gummy worms, and a piece of paper with an address and phone number for a dispensary in Hamilton on it. The U.S. Attorney's Office says a search of Dratch's phone revealed this text to someone saying, "LOL, bro, I just had 100 milligrams edible and I got stopped by customs, and now they're asking me so much." Recreational marijuana became legal in Canada October 17th. Aaron Bowker with U.S. Customs and Border Protection told our Claudine Ewing that if your car smells like marijuana, you'd probably get a secondary inspection.
Canines can pick up on the smallest amounts. And if you are driving over there and you do use it, either spend the night, don't drive impaired, or have a designated driver, just like you would if you were consuming alcohol.
Dratch went to court, he was released, and now he faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. At the Peace Bridge, Kelly Dudzik, Channel 2 News.
Yeah, and don't even think about going back to Canada.
Not welcome. No longer welcome in Canada, eh?
I'm betting those.
Dumbass.
I wonder if that was the crappy government weed.
No, I bet you it was local market weed.
That was local market weed.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to the West Coast, Best Coast?
100 milligrams. Eat 100 milligrams. Load up your glove compartment and head for the border.
Dumbass.
You know what we need? A wall.
But with pipeline holes.
With pipeline for the cannabis oil. I'm sorry. For the pipelines for the cannabis oil.
Yes, it was the flour.
Yeah, it was
Don't
the
be
flour.
dumb.
It was the flour.
Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb.
Huh.
Don't be dumb.
$250,000 fine.
Dumb.
That'll put a kink in your school loans.
Dumb.
All right, let's get into the West Coast.
West Coast.
Best Coast. Here we go.
Here we go.
Actually, we're gonna. Well, so the Western Bloc.
Okay,
We're gonna start in the next one of the top states that's got Cannabis 2018 on the ballot.
Ooh.
And it's been a battle. It's been a battle, and it's just days away, folks. Just days away. Utah is going to vote, and let's take a look at these stories. One from ABC and one from Newsline.
This guy's so silly.
I love this guy. This is great. That's brilliant.
He's breaking the law.
Great idea.
Here goes. I'm gonna try it. I'll let you know how it tastes. I went to Las Vegas. I wanted to have at least one Utah State Senator that actually has tried cannabis before we have this big debate and change the will of the people on it. I felt a little high, a little bit okay, but it didn't change my life. It wasn't like, So, everybody, mellow out. Recognize that this is nothing to be afraid of, because the people that are terrified by it seem to be the people who have never tried it. I would suggest that a final dispensation be given to everyone in the Utah legislature to go try gummy bears. Maybe we can pass a special law, have a special session. We can do it in the Capitol with nurses around and doctors, and they can try it, and we'll need a religious, this doesn't count as sin, this is a one-time only, as informational. So having said all that, I'm just saying, no big deal. No big deal.
Big deal.
Now that's a party I want to be at.
In Utah. When all the Mormons get stoned for the first time.
All of the Mormons eat a 5 well, they're all legislators. They're all, I guess, a good predominant of them are Mormon.
I'm pretty sure it's a very large majority Mormon.
All eat a 5 milligram gummy.
Be great.
Watch what happens. I think that would be awesome.
He
Great idea.
He ate a 10 milligram gummy, but he ate in 5 and 5.
Come on. What an amazing legislator. Is that right? Holy cannabis oil. What a great freaking idea.
It is. It's a great idea. They should do that.
Give everybody a pass.
Every legislator, everywhere should do it. Every judge, every social worker, every cop,
everyone,
every paramedic.
If you're a prohibitionist, you should try it. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Have some CBD for Christ. I just had some CBD water today.
Yeah, we wanted to try that silliness. All right, what's next?
Chemically created CBD. All right, let's move on. Next story in Utah. Now we'll get into the politics of it. Here we go.
7:22. It's been 3 years. 3 hours.
3 years.
Matthew Loveland is here at the Utah State Capitol, where people have been talking about whether a little plant helps save people from pain or whether it causes it.
In 12 days, Utah voters will decide whether or not to bring medical marijuana to the state. Last night, a public forum was held at the state capitol on Proposition 2. Utahns took the opportunity to speak out about the issue.
I have friends and family members I know could benefit. I watched my grandparents pass away from cancer and be in this opioid funk before they passed, and it's awful. And I want an alternative for patients, and I think passing Prop 2 is the best way we can do that.
Others stress that cannabis has just as much potential to be as addicting as opioid medicine.
That cannabis has addictive properties, and it also does affect the developing brain. And the younger you start, just like anything else that you would take into your system, and I'm talking about food, etc., that is what your body will adapt to.
A week ago, legislators got together to craft a compromise on medical marijuana. The advocacy group Truce Utah is currently reviewing the compromise in an effort to see whether it will help or hinder marijuana legislation.
People are speaking from the heart about this. You heard a lot of authentic comments this evening about both pro and con. But I was impressed by the number of people who came out in favor of Prop 2 and of the compromise.
Reporting for Newsline on Capitol Hill, I'm Matthew Loveland.
Advice right there. By the way, new numbers from the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services show the number of medical marijuana patients continues to grow. Data released on October 20th shows a little more than 29,000 medical marijuana patients with providers in Montana. That's an increase of about 2,500 since the last time the state released data back in July. Those patients are served by 388 state-approved providers. 33 additional provider applications are pending. That is about the same number of providers since July. Meantime, 221 Montana doctors have patients who have been prescribed medical marijuana. The state data shows Gallatin County has the most patients and providers of any county in the state, with more than 5,200 cardholders, nearly 100 providers. The number one condition medical marijuana prescribed for, severe chronic pain. Largest group of cardholders are adults aged 30 to 40. In fact, nearly half, 43% of all cardholders are under the age of 40. 1/3 of the state's providers serve 3 or fewer patients.
However, state data shows one provider with more than 2,000 cardholders.
Today, mothers united at the Roundhouse in the battle to allow medical cannabis on school grounds.
Two moms who have sacrificed to make sure their children get the medical cannabis they need pleaded with lawmakers to pass a new law. News 13's Rebecca Atkins is live in the Newsplex with more. Rebecca?
Well, Dean and Jess, it got emotional not only by the mothers who spoke out today, but from representatives and senators who have been through similar situations. And there was a lot of support to allow medical cannabis on school grounds. It was a packed room at the Roundhouse as two mothers spoke before a room of senators and representatives about the medical cannabis their children need to survive.
The answer I got over and over from APS was if I wanted her to go to school with her medicine, then I needed to change the law.
Lindsay Sledge's daughter, Paloma, suffers severe seizures and had to pull her daughter from school because she wasn't allowed to bring medical cannabis on school grounds.
My only option was for me to attend school with her, sit outside in my car, take her off school grounds when I needed to dose her.
Another mother, Tisha Brick, faced the same struggles with Estancia Municipal Schools and her son, Anthony.
He was put on pretty much every pharmaceutical medication that you could think of for antipsychotic effects. These medications did not benefit Anthony, and in fact, they became almost fatal for him.
In emotional pleas, both mothers told the lawmakers cannabis is the only medication that works.
Is what allows him to go back to functioning. It does not get him high.
They both say it's what keeps their children alive.
Paloma asks me frequently why she doesn't go to school anymore. And I keep telling her that I'm doing everything I can to make sure that she can go back to school, the medicine that helps keep her alive.
Today, they received support from the Health and Services Senate Committee, who are pushing for new legislation.
To be able to have a way for that child to access the medical cannabis while they're on school grounds.
To help moms like Brick and Sledge.
Rescue moms especially. And as a mom of a kid with this, the last thing we need is one more fight.
Now, the committee says Senator Gowd is sponsoring a bill along with other lawmakers to help change how schools treat medical cannabis. And after today's hearing, the mothers say they're hopeful their kids can go back to school. Dean and Jess, back to you.
Rebecca, thank you. Now, the intent is for the senators to present the legislation on November 9th, where the committee could endorse the bill. It would then move to the legislative session.
Do kids really take pot to school? Of course they do. They have been for a long time, but these days they're sneaking it in and trying to sell it to other students in different forms. It's coming in oils, candies, baked goods, you name it, making it incredibly easy for kids to get it into their schools. But now some districts across the country are using a new high-tech gadget to spot that pot in just seconds. Team 12's Jeff Rawson set out for Colorado, where recreational marijuana is legal, to show us how this works.
Across the country, kids sneaking pot into class.
A third grader brought marijuana to school.
In California, 10 students sickened by suspected pot candy at this middle school. And at this high school in Oregon, police confiscated 1.5 pounds of homemade pot brownies. But now schools are turning to this, a new marijuana test kit. So small and simple, almost anyone can use it. Those test strips and that swab can detect THC, the active ingredient in pot. If it turns red, that means it's positive.
Right now, we're inside this Colorado high school where they actually use those marijuana test kits, and we're going to try it out in a real-life test inside this classroom. You can see on this table we have a lot of stuff. We have vape pens, we have cookies, we have gummy candies, and we have a couple of backpacks, regular school stuff, right? Now, these are regular chocolate chip cookies. These are regular gummies. In fact, watch, I'm gonna eat one, got these right in the store, no pot in here. And this is a regular backpack. On this side, though, these are pot cookies, these are pot gummies, and there was pot in this backpack. We're gonna see if the test kit can spot the pot.
The co-creator of the test kit, Michael Callahan, is on the other side of the school. He has no idea which objects have THC and which don't. First up, the vape pens. For you at home, the one on the right is a nicotine pen. The one on the left is a pot pen.
Okay, so how does this work? What are you doing here?
You take the pre-treated swab. It's got some secret sauce in there. Make sure you cover the whole mouthpiece.
He swabs both of them and rubs the Q-tips on test strips.
That is a really Dark red.
Absolutely.
You can't mistake that. Look at that.
Yes or no answer.
The results are clear.
This has got pot in it. This is an e-cigarette.
Okay, now it gets tougher. The gummies.
There you go. You got red coming already. This has got marijuana in it. This is a normal candy.
So far, the test kit is spot on, so we try the cookies.
Within seconds, look at that.
This is the pot.
Dark red again, 3 for 3. But this kit makes an even bolder promise that it can detect trace amounts of marijuana even if it's not there anymore, so you know if your kids did have it. Remember, earlier we put a baggie of weed into this gray backpack and then removed it.
Come on in here at home. I want to show you there is nothing in either of these backpacks. Certainly no pot in either of them, but just want to prove it to you. Nothing in there, nothing in there.
He swabs the backpacks one at a time. And the result?
This backpack had marijuana in it at one time.
The dark red Q-tip telling the story. The test kit spotting the pot in all 4 of our tests.
Right now, more than 30 schools and 20 police departments across the country are using those kits, and that number is growing. By the way, you can buy them to test your kids if you're interested. They cost just $10 for a package of 4 test kits.
And tonight, new at 6, Nevada's cannabis market, well, it is booming. Statewide sales were more than 5.
Oh, I can't. All right, I have to stop.
Gotta quit it.
Gotta talk about that story before we move into the area where it's. Wait, it is legal in Colorado.
Yeah.
That PSA brought to you by Reefer Revolution.
Yeah, watch out.
Apparently, those are showing up in the schools, and you know where else they're gonna show up? In the traffic stops,
airport, work, wherever they search your ass.
Yep.
Just stay home.
So they really don't want that weed out there, especially in the schools, to protect the children.
The children.
And this one has the weed in it. It won't kill you for the weed, but the sugar in both of them will cause detrimental damage to your children over the years.
Definitely.
So, feel free to hoof on that nicotine pen. Why do you even have to test the pen? If there's a pen in school, shouldn't it be confiscated?
Yeah.
I guess they want to determine whether or not to bring the cops in.
Well, it was just for the news flashiness.
Right. Well, that's the thing, believe me, parents especially. Parents
this whole situation.
And society.
I'm so glad
clueless.
we're not parents.
So there you go, a little PSA brought to you. Let's move on. Let's move into where good news is budding.
I love good news.
In the cannabis industry out here in the West. And since that was wait for the green. All right, we got the green.
I got nothing.
Yeah, man. Spectrum throttling.
You think it's throttling?
I don't know. It's a good conspiracy though. But yeah, because the YouTube, I couldn't play a YouTube video on the other screen. So yeah, it's not. It's something in the network. I don't think it shouldn't be bandwidth. I don't know. I'm gonna try to test it out this week and figure out what's going on. Might be OBS related, but I'll try to figure it out.
Alrighty.
But it is anyway. Yeah, no time for that. Let's what we were saying. Where were we? Hang on, muting. Hang on.
And tonight, new at 6, Nevada's cannabis market, well, it is booming. Statewide sales were more than $525 million. But the question remains, where is the tax money from all of that going?
Well, this morning, the Nevada Dispensary Association hosted a conference to present numbers on recreational pot. 13 Action News reporter Cynthia Maldonado went there to find answers. Cynthia.
Retailers made about $530 million now with marijuana 1 year in the market. State leaders admit they have more work to do. It's a green rush benefiting adults, but its taxes and policies remain a mystery for many.
Starting this next legislative session, we'll have it more transparent.
State Senator Tig Sagerbloom says the marijuana tax will benefit the state's education system, but the process still has to play out.
Money is there and it is going to help schools. So just tell them we're working to make things better. It's only been a year, so just people need a little bit of patience.
Brianna Durrett is the executive director of the Nevada Dispensary Association.
From the beginning, it was something where we made sure it was very strictly regulated. It was something that followed Nevada's tradition of strict regulation.
Just in its first year, Durrett says 8,300 jobs have been created.
You could be a doctor in the industry, you can be a scientist in the industry, you can do entry-level jobs in the industry. There's something for everyone.
Lawmakers are also trying to figure out how tourists can legally smoke marijuana.
Because you and I can use it in our house, but tourists, there's no place legally.
The job market could grow.
Have people go to some place and smoke pot, that's really not something they want to do, so we have to figure out a way to have alcohol or food or a combination, or music or yoga, Pilates, marijuana massages. There's just all kinds of auxiliary things we can do, but it has to be approved by the city or the county.
If and when related marijuana businesses are approved. Moving forward, the Nevada Dispensary Association wants businesses to continue advocacy on products, rules, and policies. Meanwhile, they work to simplify the system. Reporting in the studio, Cynthia Maldonado, 13 Action News.
That's what you get when you marry a gangster. You don't want to hear anything that makes you feel guilty.
You know Jim Belushi, the actor. Now meet Jim Belushi, the farmer, and this is Belushi's farm.
As everybody knows, the best cannabis in the country comes from Oregon.
93 acres in the southern Oregon town of Eagle Point.
From the Rogue River that comes out of a perfect pH to feed the girls, the plants.
His operation is relatively small, the last harvest yielding 600 pounds of bud.
My payoff has been where this plant has led me emotionally and spiritually.
Belushi believes he's helping his customers, from those coping with PTSD to couples. Take, for example, his cherry pie strain.
I call it the marriage counselor.
One of 6 marijuana strains grown under his label, Belushi's Private Vault. He says it works for him.
What do you want to eat? Oh, baby. You know, we can go to Taco Bell as long as you're sitting across from me.
Belushi's working on a new strain for next year, one modeled after a strain cultivated by his friend, Captain Jack, in the 70s.
Captain Jack used to be the weed dealer for Saturday Night Live. And they smoked this strain, those writers and actors. And it's like, well, no wonder they came up with such great, funny stuff.
Belushi knows he's in a fortunate and unique position among other growers in the state.
The Oregon market is a very tough market because it is oversaturated, and I consider myself being successful if and when I break even.
But Belushi is clear. To him, this is more than a hobby. It's a passion. And while he'll always be an actor, right now his farm is center stage.
Got a couple offers this week. I passed on because I want to be here in Oregon now.
Back live in Gresham, Belushi will be here at Nectar tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 6. Then he'll be at Speedy Jane's in Hillsboro on Saturday. And then on Sunday, he'll be competing against other growers in the Oregon Dope Cup. We wish him luck. Guys.
I think we learned a lot of new information here from you, Catherine, about Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah, they smoke pot. Big breaking news there. Did he refer to the marijuana plants as the girls? I believe he did early on in the piece. Okay.
He did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine, live in Gresham for us.
Poor things.
Yes, he did. And allow me to inform you, the girls are what give you the buds. So good reporting there and correcting your uninformed anchor. But there you go, Jim Belushi.
She could have told him why.
Yeah,
I'm
she
sure
could've.
Jim told her.
Of course.
The girls.
Of course.
They're female.
Hamburger. Yeah. Well, he tried to help. He's was he in one of the movies or something, or is he in the? I don't know. Did he? Jim?
Yeah.
That wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't Jim. That wasn't John. That was Jim. But yeah, he looks like him, right?
All right,
Sort
the
of.
next.
Yeah, that's great to see there. Oregon, of course, doing some things in their election season. They're trying to pass a bill for exporting their excess cannabis. And we are going to... We are trying to get through Chela's coughing spells and into these videos.
I had a little sinus issue.
You're almost over it though. It's great.
You moved
right through it, and you did amazingly at the conference. Not up at the mic, so it was tough. Yeah, but I'm trying to help out as best we can. It's never fun to listen to people cough on mic.
No,
so,
I'm sorry.
We're working on it, but we're gonna roll into our last story of the night. We have a couple of other little tiny stories about ballot measures going on here in California, Bakersfield area. Solvang just has a new medical marijuana dispensary because they banned it, and now they realize they need it. This whole local jurisdiction is a joke. But with regards to the election, check your ballot. Make sure I guarantee it, you've got a cannabis ballot measure on your ballot. So when you go to the box, make sure you're voting for it. Let's get into this last story and we'll come back and say goodbye. This is a cute story. This is our first Halloween story of the season that we have found. And this actually looks pretty damn spooky. It's kind of cool. Check it out.
In downtown Oregon City, there are spirits afoot. At least that's the theory behind paranormal activity witnessed at 50 Trees, a cannabis dispensary.
What's going to happen next?
Behold, if you dare, this surveillance video from August. Watch the glass tip jar on the counter. Slowly, it starts to move. That's Andy Gomez next to it.
As it was happening, I kind of felt like somebody was standing next to me, or like somebody was like right here.
Suddenly, the jar falls off the level surface.
Okay, that just happened.
Then Andy remembered the surveillance cameras.
We saw the jar do its thing.
Not long after that, this happened. Watch the pen cup. It's completely still and no one's around when suddenly the pens begin to move. And if you think the video's been doctored, as a cannabis shop, that would be against the law.
And those are state-certified videos.
GM Samantha Davidson says at the turn of the century, this building space was used as a pharmacy.
I feel like it's the pharmacist because he likes to organize things. I'll leave it to the ghost hunters.
Oregon City is a very haunted place.
Rocky Smith owns Haunted Oregon City. The paranormal investigator and historian gives ghost tours and has heard many tales of mysterious happenings here.
The activity that happens in a lot of these haunted places in downtown is because of that rebuilding over the top of old buildings.
As for the video from the cannabis shop,
it's very hard to explain that. And so it leaves you with this question, what is it that we're talking about? What is it that's causing this?
Perhaps they'll never know.
I just hope that that pharmacist is happy that we're here.
Spooky.
Totally spooky. I've been in a haunted place and something like that happened.
That's
non-physical, man.
That is pretty
playing.
I mean, she has a point. That camera is on all the time.
Yeah, and you can't doctor that shit.
So, Timbuktu, I'm sorry you're having buffering issues. It has been a little challenging today. I don't know if it's the Spectrum, evil Spectrum. My speed is a little slower than it should be. I might go ahead and give them a shout, but we've been having
what we pay for.
Meaning what we pay for, yeah, exactly. But it should be plenty for what we need to do with this little internet show about cannabis.
Super little internet
Reefer
show.
Revolution here on Sundays at 4:20 Pacific till about 7:40.
Till we're done.
Till 8.
Till we're done. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's been nice having you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Join us next week where we will have another segment of Cannabis Saves the World and more news on, hopefully, on the development of that and other shows.
Yeah.
Down under RBU, Chela and Dave, DC420. It mystifies me how you are able to collect all these cannabis stories around the country while managing to filter out all the bad news going on. I haven't watched any of no cable news for 2 weeks. and jonesing Abraham Hicks.
You mean binging?
Binging, sorry, jonesing. Binging Abraham Hicks and smoking copious amounts of perfectly vaped 388 degrees air riser cannabis vapor.
All right.
I'll work on that commercial. I think it is time to eat. We're going to go down the hill and get some vegan mac and cheese and some vegan donuts and some good snacky food, because as cannabis users, our metabolism can work all of that magic on the sugars, and
we
it
walk
doesn't
like
it
twice
doesn't
a day.
stick to us.
We're vegan. We eat mostly vegetables.
And we're going to take our little boy Jackpot with us.
But thank you guys so much for being here.
He likes to join us. Thank
We
you guys.
appreciate you.
It's been we love the chat today. It's been great.
good
All the new
times.
folks, the old folks.
Happy Halloween. Stay safe.
Happy Halloween. We got to do invited to a local little gathering. That's going to be fun to go to.
May you receive edibles if you want them.
Yes. Don't give your edibles to those kids
Nobody
at the door.
gives edibles away.
We'll see. I'm sure there'll be a couple of those stories in the news next week, guys. I better get our video, our theme ready to go. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. And
We'll
we
have
love you.
some stuff in the afterburn, too.
Oh, yeah. We'll play some stuff in the afterburn if you want to check it out. We'll play some videos we didn't get to today, but we're going to get ready to go down and get some snacks. We love you guys. Free the plant. Free the people. Vote for cannabis. Cannabis 2018. Pot for Peace. We'll see you next week. Follow me on Twitter
guys.
still at DC420LA. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next week. We out.
Murderers keep murdering, the churches keep a-burning, the rapists keep a-raping, and the tide ain't turning. Uncle Sam, for all your power, things get worse every hour. It seems to me your energy's unwasted, chasing my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. The terrorists keep terrorizing, our leaders keep a-lying, the haters keep a-hating, and the planet's dying. Uncle Sam, do what's proper, call off your dogs and your helicopters. The problems of society were not caused by my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. How many innocent people gonna be imprisoned? We just peace and love and street pop and brotherhood freaks. A touch of Mother Nature never made nobody violent, never made nobody hate nobody or break nobody's peace. It's never been shown to be harmful. Don't you tell me no lies with your caffeine, codeine, nicotine eyes. The cannabis ban is just recent, just since 1938. To re-legalize it, realize it, you made a big mistake. Hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone.